Hello everyone and welcome to State of the Realm. We took a little bit of a break with the most recent patch, but we are back to catch up on all the things that have been, well, discussed, I suppose would be the civil way to put it, over the past several weeks. And with that, we're going to start with a very civil discussion on the most recent raid tier, and that of Abyssos Savage. And for that, we're going to need some peeps. I'm one of them, Mr. Happy. Of course, joining me is Sly, who I thought was going to miss the show for a few minutes because he was running late, but he did not stay up late playing Final Fantasy XI, as I was going to accuse him of doing. How are you doing, Sly? Sly?
I am out of breath, but okay, I'm here.
He's here. I thought you were late again. I was like, oh no, he's gone again. Never mind. Doing good though?
Yeah, just came from the barber. Barber took a little bit longer than usual, but yeah, I'm good.
All right. Well, with that, we're also going to need some more seasoned raid vets to have this discussion. And we have two guests that I know you all love to hear talk about raid stuff. First, we have Arthars, who is, it's good to have you, Arthars. You don't get to have this pleasure all too often, so.
Yeah, like I don't remember the last time I got on here. I actually didn't even remember me on here ever until you like told me on Mock Talk the other time, right? So yeah, nice to be here again. What's up, everyone? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're always welcome. I'm bad at asking people, so I was like, I don't want to bother him. So that's why it's been so long. I'm really bad. Sly hates it. Look at him. He's like, he does it all the time. And of course,
I find it to be easier to ask people than Mike finds it to be easier.
I don't like to bother people, Sly. It's tough, all right? And we have one more guest. You just heard him speak. And seems he's in agreement with me. And we have Momo returning as well. Welcome, Momo. Thank you for waking up on time for this.
Yeah,
I was a little concerned.
Yeah, no, I said I would wake up. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm ready to yell, get angry, very angry.
You sound
infuriated
at the moment.
I'm so upset. Yeah.
I would like to hear about that.
Listen, I think everyone's expecting a rowdy show, but you two are actually quite tame on podcasts, much to people's surprise compared to when they see a clip of Arthur's yelling, "It's the fucking same."
That's an old one. Holy shit.
Depends on conversation. But yeah, otherwise, like on podcasts, like, all right, over the years, ever since my first rant on like a podcast on Limit Break Radio, right? Ever since then, been to multiple, been to some reoccurrences, like even for State of the Realm, right? It's like maybe the time.
You and Zeno got really rowdy. That one's wild.
Yeah, that was the second one, right?
Yeah,
that was
the second one.
Yeah, so over time, I'm like, I need to let the host do their thing. I need to take a backseat a little bit. Need to remember this is not my stream. Need to behave, yeah.
Fuck all that. Go ham. Fuck all that.
Ivy heard that. She was like, I'm bored. Never mind. I'm going back to bed. Just tucked away in the corner under my name back here. There we go. Before we get started on this very open-ended discussion, as you know, there's no show notes or anything. We like to do things very free-form and open, so I expect it to go all over the place. We do have sponsors. That is the one podcast thing that we have to do. We have our sponsors over on Patreon who support. They don't get anything special for it. They just support it because they enjoy it, and Sly and I love them for that, so thank you to all of our patrons for supporting. We do also have, on my end, we have Every Plate as a temporary sponsor for the month. If anyone's in the US, I did a cooking stream for it the other day, but it's like HelloFresh, but less expensive. Like the deal was $1.49 per meal, and I cooked like 12 of them. So I'm eating good for for the rest of the week. So if you're interested in that and you're from the US, ! Every Plate in the chat. It'll be in the description on YouTube. And then Steelseries. I'm going to pull a winner for the Steelseries giveaway at some point. But we do have another giveaway that I'm not going to spoil quite yet. But about the halfway point, we have another long overdue set of giveaways to do. Sly, don't give me that look. Listen, I'll talk about it when we talk about the raid tier, because we haven't done a show in quite some weeks. And I'm sure that people are even surprised we're doing one right now. Sly.
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, it's been a crazy time, as I'm sure most of us are aware. Not a boring time, I think we would all agree. when it comes to Final Fantasy 14. Sly, listen.
Oh, no, yeah.
Sly. What's going on, Sly? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're
I'm good. I'll talk about it.
Sly, you're usually the peaceful one. You look more upset. Well, I don't know how Momo looks right now, but you look the most upset.
It's not even that I'm upset. It's not even that I'm upset. It's just shit that it's the way shit happened.
True.
I'm mad at a certain person.
Oh, okay. We got like a vendetta.
We got drama. Drama of the realm.
No drama.
Okay.
No drama. No.
There's enough of that on Twitch this week. I think we can.
Dude, yeah, like holy moly, man. Like I think this is like a period of time where it's like I haven't seen like a period of time more controversial.
We are in the darkest timeline.
Like you have the casual players, or like maybe midcore, are like, you know, job balance is fine, and they're basically complaining about like all the high end raiders who are complaining. You go on YouTube, there's like you type in FFXV balance on YouTube, you'll hit like a full page of like videos, right? You go down to the comments, you start reading the comments, you'll see people like, oh, you know, you should just let the devs do their thing, you know, have faith, blah 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 blah, you know, doomsday, blah 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 blah. And it's like, oh my gosh. I was like watching a couple of videos yesterday on stream. I was like, oh my gosh, people are like mean and just don't understand like the topic sometimes.
Sometimes I thought they always don't. YouTube comment,
I was
Twitter,
being nice.
they always don't.
Yeah, I was being nice. Oh, I'll never forget my healer videos.
No need to hold back. No need to hold back, please.
Just because I have see, he's thinking about my comment section right now. Because if he starts going off on them, but I say just do it. I don't care.
Just fucking do it. Don't. This is where you should have absolutely no fucking filter whatsoever. This is your out. We are giving you an out, basically.
No, I think it's just
Wait, what happened?
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
Huh? Wait. This raid here has a lot of drama?
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Oh yeah.
Arthars, did you not see what happened with me?
Okay, I mean yours. Okay, but like the raid here.
That was happening everywhere, though. Like that wasn't like an isolated thing.
It's kind of similar to like A3S in the sense that the gap between the third turn and the fourth turn was egregious. Like it was fucking massive, right? Like I'm not saying it was as difficult as A3, but I'm saying like the gap between like the turns was probably pretty similar. And I think that caused a lot of frictions in like the lower skilled groups, I guess, or like maybe like the groups that just weren't prepared for it. And oh my, like the horror stories that I saw, like there was a new one like every hour. Like,
okay, wait, Momo. So between today and when we were on Mock Talk, last week, did this all happen within a week?
Oh no, this is just from the start. No, we didn't talk about it on the yeah.
Arthars, I wish I could be so disconnected from it like you are right now.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
I mean, I know the usual stuff, right? Healing, I know the usual stuff, right? Job balance. Okay, I thought that was just the end of it. You know, some people didn't mind it. Some of us talk about it, but I just thought that was the end of it. Like, for like, you know, news or drama that come out every one day. I need to know some of this.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it ties into balance, but like a lot of groups actually struggled with the intent of buying tome gear because they didn't want to be like, specifically the people with the weapon, right? They didn't want to be, you know, a week behind with tomes because it costs 500, right? So you actually had groups who would not buy the weapon for the group because they didn't want to waste the tomes, and you know.
Okay, Momo knows way more than I do because I didn't see any of that. That's
Dude, there was a couple of groups.
Where do we start? Where do we start? Where do we begin?
There's
too much now. Too much.
Begin. We don't like. How do we even fucking start? There's so many
okay, I know how to start us. I've done a few podcasts before. Right. Before we get into discussions about the individual fights and the balance of the tier, etc., having done the tier, so I know you haven't completed it because you're doing normal raid hours. We got shit to do raid hours. That's how you do it.
Actually doing 2 nights a week.
I noticed you did what, Wednesday?
Was it?
No, it's Monday and Tuesday.
Monday, Tuesday. I knew I saw you doing it in the middle of the
Yeah.
week. So, how did we feel overall about the raid tier? Set a precedent for the discussion. Momo, I will start with you.
Like in terms of like what's the
Your
context?
overall
Like,
emotion, like going through it. How did you feel doing it? How did you feel after it was done?
Man, I don't know. It was weird.
In the beginning.
6 and 7 were really bad. Not because they're bad fights in the sense, but because when you were progging them, by the time you were like, "Oh, hey, this is cool," the fight was over. You know, because there was basically like very little mechanics that took a long period of time to learn. Right? You kind of just blew through it, and the pacing of those two fights were also really bad. 5 was really good. Actually, 5 is actually one of my favorite fights, first turn fights in almost maybe the whole game. It's definitely up there. And 8, and then you get 8, and like 8's really good at the time. Before like pre-nerf, I thought that it was probably like the hardest door boss we've ever had, just in terms of mechanical consistency. Because like Eden's Promise is probably harder like mechanically. It's kind of like UCOB versus T in the sense that like T's peak difficulty is harder. But I think overall UCOB is more mechanically harder because it's just more consistent, right? It's very similar with that the door boss, the PA door boss, and Promise. Whereas Promise's peak difficulty is higher, but man, the mechanical consistency needed to like do the door boss and like also meet the DPS check was probably unmatched. And then the final fight was it was fun. It was cool. I like the new mechanics. Felt like you're doing like a mini game every pull.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, I suppose.
I mean, it's cool, right? Like when you're learning it, it's cool. But like when you're farming it and like going for the clear, I mean, it was kind of like whatever. It wasn't very engaging, I guess, because really the only mechanics you had to deal with were, I think actually the hardest mechanic was probably inverse natural alignment.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, natural alignment. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Before I get to Arthars, compared to Hesperos, just talking about second phases, would you say that Hesperos was a more engaging second phase versus Hesphitos, or whatever his name is?
You're talking about the door boss, right?
No, the second phase.
The last phase.
Sorry, second phase. I would say Hesperos 2 was definitely better than this one, yeah. I think it's just because actually I don't know. It's really hard for me to say. I think they're about equal, and it's just a matter of perspective, like what you prefer more, I guess.
Okay. All right. Arthars, your turn.
Okay, let me just start with how you end that conversation there. I think the first one is just better because the replayability is better. Like every mechanic from Act 1, Act 2, I guess, from Act 2 all the way to curtain call, right? Final curtain, right? I thought it was every party you join, every time you redo it, every time you refarm it, it felt like you got something to think about. Like, okay, shit, for what is that? Act 4, do I get the dark debuff or do I get the water? If I get, what do I change? If we do the final the final mechanic, what number do I get? What number I get, how do I do my rotation and stuff? So I feel like even for a tank player, as a DPS player, like the replayability is there. Joining a different party, the replayability is there. Whereas like it's like Hello World. I actually thought Hello World was better. A lot of people always compare Hello World to say this high concept. I always thought Hello World is better because Hello World you also can hit the boss, and Hello World you actually have to find ways to like try to do well. You also have a lot of healing, right? You also have a lot of healing to do, right? So tanks have a shorter window to not, fuck up stuff. I feel like it's like mechanics like this is more engaging. So obviously, if you do a puzzle mechanic, once it's solved, it becomes boring. Once it's solved, it becomes boring. But then you need to have something else to make the boring part non-boring. I thought high concept does not have that at all. You just follow a set of rules and you just do it. It's like you go to it's like you are doing a customer service, right? Somebody call you and tell them their router is down, and you just read them a script. Okay, have you shut off the internet? Okay, have you tried unplugging? Have you tried direct? And then the customer is just yes, it's over. Then it's like, That was easy. Whereas like Hello World and replayable mechanics is like, sir, have you tried shutting? I already done everything you told me to do. Can you tell me to do more? Oh shit, okay, that's new. This customer is now agitated. What's the playbook for this? Sir, please calm down. You know, I was just trying to help. Take a deep breath. Like it feels different, right? It's the same thing, but it feels different. It feels like the second phase of the first raid tier, it feels like Hello World have more, it's more engaging to me. And sadly, high concept is the main thing in the phase 2, right? But I do think natural alignment is actually the hardest mechanic. Like you should see how it is in Park. It's horrible. Now, luckily, because of Park, they spent all the effort in door boss.
Yep.
So they would just leave, you know. So they're just, and luckily it's the first mechanic of the fight. So it's like, yeah, I guess, you know, we can spend 1 hour on this. I think, you know, we will be happy with, you know, getting better. Hey, and if you do it right, you know, natural alignment too, it's the same thing. So it's like people are willing to stick throughout it. But yeah, that is definitely harder. Okay, so that was, I guess, the second phase. My thoughts for the entire raid here is actually much more simpler than breaking them down. I thought this entire raid here felt just like it is exactly what I expected for a savage raid here, let alone a second tier 2. With some bullshit added in, obviously. The 1 week. I think even before this raid here, I think a lot of us, like in our stream or in other podcasts, we also say already, right? This 1 week is gonna be going both ways, right? Especially they came out to say that they are not balancing this, they are not doing something extra. It's just 1 week delay. Everything else is given to you. It's only Savage that is 1 week delay. So we kind of already, you know, expected some things that can be just powered through, especially turn 1 and turn 2. Turn 1 and turn 2 has always been not new. It's just an introduction to Savage. It's not like they will pose any sort of challenge to begin with anyway, since Deltascape, you know? So it's like 7, this is the 8 raid already. So, you know, you kind of expect what it is, but worse with the gears and, you know, them not balancing stuff. And of course, also the most important underlying problem, full bowl, the job unbalanced, right? So this time it definitely shows it even worse. But I thought turn 1 and turn 2 is exactly what I expect. The Proto Cabanco is definitely the one that stands out to be one of the best one though. But, you know, turn 2, as expected, turn 3 in recent raid has always been hit or miss. The only one that kind of was okay was Fatebreaker, to be honest. Other than that, most turn 3 has been you know. So this time it's another. They've been really bad at their turn 3 lately. Their recent record isn't great, so not surprised there. And then the final one, the door boss, the main problem. I actually really liked it. People may think that I'm jokingly saying about this. My ideal Savage in Final Fantasy XIV, I want Savage to be hard, not just the door boss, but overall, like the whole raid here. I want a Savage to last 7 days for World First. I want only the best, the most prestigious player to be able to clear week 1. And then for the rest of us, even in hardcore static, I want us to struggle to be able to meet week 1. And then I want the mid-core and the casuals to do week 2. Ultimate, I want it to last a month. I want the best group to maybe take 2 weeks. Now that's me. So, we all play Final Fantasy 11 here.
I knew it was coming. I was going to say it myself. I was going to fucking say it. All right?
Right? We've seen more challenges. We've been spending, all of us boomer here has been spending more time in previous game that, you know, sometimes doing mechanics, but sometimes time consumption is also part of the difficulty. I think for me, right? I think time consumption and skill goes hand in hand. So for me, right, with my expectation, with my experience coming from the other games, coming to Final Fantasy XIV, and see Savage, which is considered quote unquote the one of the end game. I mean, now Ultimate is the end game. Savage, I think Savage have lowered down to mid-core content already, right? In terms of rating, not say like overall content, Savage is mid-core. Like in terms of as a raider, Savage is no longer the one that we look forward to. It's the one. It's just one end game content. It's mid-core end game content for us raiders, already, right? So with my expectations so high, this Savage is just another raid tier. You know, people always ask me, is this Savage too difficult? I'm like, it's just another tier 2. It's just another Savage. You look at when you do turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 in PF, you just felt like this is just another PF day, right? This is not like, oh man, this raid here is so much better. It's fun though. I really enjoy it. But I don't want to look past its difficulty, how much higher it bumped, because technically speaking, even if the door boss is on Square Enix words, they overtune. But in my, I think Happy, you saw my tweet.
Oh, I saw it.
I think they buff it to cater for week 2, but obviously the PR way, or maybe even it's the real way. We will never know. I will never know. I could be wrong. The real thing is that they say they overtune it, but I think they ninja buff it, right? But overall, I think we can agree it's a nerf, even though they say it's not. It's just fixing.
Well, it is. It is a nerf, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually love it because I actually felt like this door boss made me try harder than I ever did before in terms of doing rotation. Because as gorgeous is, as even ultimate, as hard as DPS check has ever been, I never pressed my button so hard before. I never felt so pressure missing a directional. I never felt so pressure over 5 Ninki. This time I actually felt like every time I overcap, every time I miss a position, I let the team down. I have the weapon. I let the team down. I feel like we are gonna enrage. We're gonna, it's that tight, 0.1%. But I actually like it. But then if I sit down to think about it, like, okay, is this because it's overtuned, or is this because the job is really badly balanced? And then when I look at it and like, yes, the job is really balanced, then for the game, it's not good, right? But for me, luckily I play a ninja. For me, if I play a Reaper, this is a whole different conversation, by the way, for proc. So for me as a ninja, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I think it raises the level, right? It raises hardcore static level, right? But then for the usual other people, Savage is meant for. I'm not sure whether you guys will agree with me on this. Savage now has become a content that is more. They are welcoming more raiders into trying Savage, not about how the end game, the hardcore, the world progress feel about it. Do you guys agree with that? It's more for the people. It's not for us anymore. Ultimate is the one that is for us.
No, yeah,
right?
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. There's actually a couple points that I want to tackle that you brought up. Specifically one from 5 minutes ago, but it's kind of gonna lie me. But it's actually kind of funny because imagine how good of a fight the last turn would have been if High Concept 2 was uptime, right? And it was something that we actually theorized after we cleared. It was like, man, imagine if some of these were during uptime, and it was really not really a set pattern outside maybe the South Tower during High Concept 2 that you would actually have to take downtime for. So you just technically it was possible to do full uptime without even worrying about dropping mechanics. You just have to shift things around. But it's kind of funny because it almost got robbed, right? Because that turn, if High Concept 2 was during uptime, would have been an insanely really strong fight. And maybe if it was the final turn of the expansion, maybe it would have been full uptime. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, it really sucks that he got robbed like that.
I always say in Ultimate, my favorite mechanic across every Ultimate to this day remains to be Ultimate Annihilation, just because.
Oh, I was about to say that. I knew you would say that. Yes.
Yeah.
Same for me. Ultimate Annihilation is the best one, for sure.
Even though it's the easiest fight, it doesn't. I just love that mechanic. I just prefer that over the boss leaves and I do a bunch of stuff, and then the boss leaves again, and that's. But talking to. Especially this not feeling like it's for the hardcore. After DSR, I was asleep, in terms of figuring everything out this
DSR
whole raid tier.
Was bad for that.
Yeah, it's this always happens. An Ultimate comes out and then a Savage tier comes out, and it's always okay, I'm here. Let's.
Well, I think it's DSR specifically because I didn't get that feeling with T. Because T when you look at the Ultimates. You kind of look. I mean, it's gonna be relative to your player growth as an individual. But when you look at the Ultimates, right, or just the fights in the game in general, there's been 4 big leaps in difficulty, right, in terms of I think player growth, right. First one was Gordius, right, A3, A4. Those 2 fights pushed you to a whole new level. And if you didn't do those fights when you were when it was relevant, you had a huge advantage over players who didn't. The second one was A8, right? I think A8 also helped, push players who maybe not as much for the people who cleared A3 or A4, but if you didn't clear A3 and A4 and you cleared A8, that kind of puts you almost on the same level as the two others, right? And then the next one wasn't until UCOP, right? So they had a huge gap between like if you weren't able to do A3 and A4, I think in A8 you were like almost behind until you could do UCOB because you didn't really have anything that would push your growth, right? Then after UCOB, I actually think there wasn't anything until DSR that really helped push you as like an individual to the next level, right? Like if you did all those fights in the past, like if you did like teen UCOB, I mean, I don't really think they were too different. Like I think T maybe was a little bit harder mechanically in the sense that like the peak difficulty, but overall, I don't really think it made you a better player if you had done UCOB like previously. But no, I think DSR was like, I think that was huge for player growth, especially for mechanical consistency, right?
Consistency,
yeah. We haven't had an ultimate since DSR. We hadn't had the ultimate like DSR that kind of pushed that mechanical consistency, because even UCOB and T had pretty brief periods of downtime, whereas like DSR was like bam, 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 and if you fucked up once, you kind of just wiped.
I also think the length of DSR makes the next Savage tier, all the fights, seem even shorter than they are. Because you're like, okay, I have this 22-minute slugfest between the checkpoint phase and everything that comes after. And now it's like the door boss and the final boss are 8.5 minutes, which is still one of the reasons I don't like door bosses. I don't like the final boss being 2 split 8.5-minute fights. It feels super underwhelming to like get through high concept 1 and you're like a third through the fight and you've done 2 things across the whole fight.
Yeah, I never liked. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad that you also feel the same happy, because I think, right, the next evolution of Savage, I think I say this multiple times, the next evolution of Savage is give us a turn 5. Now we got turn 1, 2, 3, 3/4 of a turn 4, and then another 3/4 of turn 4. Turn 4 is like a 1.55, right? We went from door bosses being 6 minutes, and then the final bosses being 10, to eventually now they even it out into 8-ish, 8.5 to about 8-ish, 8.5, since Gaia, right? So it's like, it's the next step is to give us properly segment them into a turn 5, so that we don't have this problem where we got the door boss that is like that, and then the second half of the boss, which is the same instance, we cannot make it too much crazier, so we give you another type of fight that is like, clearly it's not. All the second phases has never been harder than the door boss, even for Expedilos, right? PNX, both the PNX mechanic and some of the mechanic in phase 1 is way harder than the X, right? So I think if they actually split it and they finally, let's just say if you got the resource, they got the time, they expand these door bosses and the second phase into a proper 11 to 12 minutes fight, we got a proper turn 4 and turn 5 that start from scratch, then we wouldn't have a fight where it's like, okay, we cannot do too much. It's just Savage. It's not an ultimate. It's already quite long. It's 8+8. So let's just make the second half like this. And all of us here, we are no dumb bunnies. We done a lot of raid here already. We done a lot of ultimate already. Clearly, we can tell, we can see why you do that. But clearly, it's also obvious that your second half has never been more difficult. Just a little bit of salt and pepper in there. But I think they should think about it already, moving forward. Hey, we got the next 10 years. So...
Okay, before we go anywhere else, how you doing, Sly? Because he mentioned Final Fantasy 11, you made a drink, and I couldn't help but how's the drink, Sly?
Very refreshing.
Oh yeah, what'd you make?
I made a Hathaway.
What the heck is that? Other than
it's a Moscow Mule with pineapple.
Okay, all right. See, you're sitting over there because, Sly, you, like I mentioned earlier, you are nowhere near this conversation that we're having.
No.
But you have been a witness to it for the last several weeks.
Okay. So, you and I have a friend in common called I Told You So.
Yeah.
So, one random Sunday, I Told You So hits me up, and he's like, Sly, I know you got a new raid group and everything, because a few people left the raid group that was part because business and everything. So I moved over to a new raid group. It's like, Sly, I know you got raid and everything Tuesday, yada yada yada. Do you want to see Savage now? I'm like, well, fuck, I can't. I kind of want to see Savage. Tell me why that was like 4 of the most goddamn scariest hours of my fucking life.
What, did he just jump you to 8?
Damn near.
He just went right in. He just without seeing any Savage at all, just jumped right
Not
through.
seeing any Savage at all. I mean, I've done normal, so I'm familiar with some mechanics. All right, we do what, 5 in like a lockout, I think. And my ass is just getting fucking lit up by Devour. I'm like, okay, like
They just didn't explain
it'll
it.
get there eventually. It'll get there eventually, and I'm like, okay, I just had to click it myself, and eventually it clicked for myself. But yeah, and then there was like a bunch of other bullshit that happened after Devour, and like now like the thing is, like I want to go with my group, learn it kind of, you know, like the regular way, like slowly we all fucking die together, we wipe together, and we.
But you just look like the loner who's making everyone. That's funny.
They are explaining shit to me. I'm telling you right now. Like, bro, y'all are.
I gotta feed my cat. 1 second. You keep going off. He won't leave me alone.
Yeah, y'all are well into the tier and everything. My ass is dumb as fuck right now. I'm gonna be completely honest. My ass is dumb as fuck. This shit will not stick. And I promise you, once I get to my new raid group, this shit, I'm gonna have to remember all this shit, and I won't. So 5 was okay. 5 was okay.
I think it's good that you kind of bring this up though, because I think like actually that it's such an interesting conversation to have, because you like as like the difference, right? Like I think actually for most players, the mechanics in this tier aren't easy, right? You know, but for us, they, you know, for people I guess who did DSR, right?
It's a drop in the bucket for y'all.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's actually interesting because like it's not even. It's like how do you balance that, you know? And I think it goes back to what Arthur said, where I mean, you can't, right? It has to be made for the, I guess, other side of the player base. And it's also an interesting conversation because like the thing about player skill evolution is that like it's not static in the sense that the high-end player base in this game will keep getting better and better and better because generally ultimates scale relatively, right? They generally make ultimates to test player skill over time, whereas savages remain generally pretty platonic. They don't really change too much in difficulty. So as ultimates get harder and savage stays the same, you end up with a pretty weird dichotomy between the high end and like the, I guess, the intermediate levels of players. And I don't know if you can fix that. It's just something that kind of happens over time where savage just becomes more mundane for people like us, I guess. And then, you know, it remains interesting for Sly, you know. It's kind of cool to see in a way.
It's not even that it's interesting. It's just that, you know, under normal circumstances, under like, you know, I was with my regular raid group. We were wiping all the fucking time, but at the same time we were learning. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
He took me to Vietnam for like a 4-hour tour and expected me to like retain everything.
Like, what year is it that we're making Vietnam?
Well,
like,
I mean,
bro, I mean, it's not like. I mean, I completed the last tier. I completed with my group. I mean, it took us a while, but I completed the last tier with my group. That was okay. Like, that was okay. I mean, again, I'm like kind of, I guess, mid-core. That group is pretty much mid-core.
No, that group is casual. You guys did 1 day a week for a very long
1 day
time.
a week. We were the shit to, like, I mean,
you got shit to do.
We had a mid-core mindset.
Yeah,
we had shit to do during the week, but like we had a mid-core mindset. We had extra days. Or your ass, we would have fucking raided extra days. But, you know, people had shit to do.
I just think that actually, I mean, like, not even referring to like you. I just think the mechanics overall are actually pretty hard for most players. Like, I see so many players get tripped up by like, for example, the quad bang glows and P5 where it goes like 4 back to back to back. I see so many people get tripped up by that. I mean, Devour kills so many people. And then and P6, the tether tiles, like if you don't know the trick for that, people will just get smacked.
Bro, so I got a confession. We have basically beat the fight every single time we've done that mechanic. So I still, at a glance, can't do it because it's just like the first time we ever saw it, we beat it, and then we didn't do it again for a week, and it was just like, how do you tell where it is?
Well, there's a trick for
it I know.
now,
It's long tether, short run, short tether, long run. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know it, but when I'm looking at it, I go,
Let me talk about how fucking PTSD inducing berries and cream bitch was, because
Wait,
is that the tree?
no, hegemony.
Why is she berries and cream?
The berries and cream
Oh, like
from
the
Starburst
mascot?
commercial. Yeah,
Oh.
that's what I call her.
I'm gonna Google that. The berries and cream bitch savage guide.
We get to P6, and the extent of the explanations I was given was Sly, stand here.
That sounds a lot like when I
have
did
fun.
I did Ultimate with Rich. Sounds very similar.
Like, Sly,
Oh my
stand
God.
here. This is your corner. Stand here. Have fun. Okay, what the fuck else? I mean, we'll get to it. I mean, we did. We eventually did get through it in a lockout, but my ass was scared the entire time. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. We LB3'd Coachella 2, and somehow fucking got through. Now, I understand this shit a lot more since I've done it with my raid team, but that day I ain't know shit. It's like, Sly, just go there. I'm like, okay. Okay. And I'll just die. And then I'm like, okay, so we're good for tonight, right? I'll see y'all guys later. Like, no. We're going into 7. What the fuck you mean we're going into 7? The fuck you mean? We're going into 7. Like, Sly, I promise you, the fight is like really the last few minutes of the fight. Like, the fuck you mean it's the last few minutes of a fight? There's a sequence of events. And I get in there, and they're literally, like, the first 7 minutes of the fight is just nothing.
Yep.
I fucking hate that.
Mhm.
Would you like to go do Eden's verse?
I fucking hate it so much that it's just so goddamn backloaded. Like, you get there and then you wipe, and it's like, well, what the? I mean, I'm down to do nothing for another 7 minutes, but goddamn.
Yep.
Oh,
Like-
That's one of the issues with P7.
And then like, okay, all right, so here's like the last 3 major mechanics before it just repeats. I'm like, okay. Basically, it's like looking, like, for sports ball terms, it's like looking you just got handed Alabama's offense for the first time, and you see Greek. I'm like, what the fuck is?
Well, I mean, they are the
Yak-
ancients, so yeah,
Yak
they
in the
are
back,
Greek.
what?
Yeah.
Yak in the back, what? What?
I didn't know that was a song. I learned that.
Yeah. Yak what? Huh? And I'm looking at all 3 of these, and I'm like, it's not gonna make sense until I do it, and I do it. I'm like, okay, this shit still doesn't make sense. And I do it again, and it's like, okay, it's kind of getting there. And what's the last one out of the 3? Was it War or
Yeah,
Death?
yeah.
It's War.
Yeah, it's famine. It
Um,
goes famine, death, war. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I get the War, and I'm like,
War is the pug ender. Like, the other ones might kill
Yeah,
some pugs, but
pretty
War,
much.
even though like War has a
Pretty-
lot of really easy strats, War is a pug ender still.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get the War, and I'm like, just deer and fucking headlights. I'm like, okay, it's Alabama's offense. I don't know what to do. I have no idea. And that's how my night ended. I got through 2 fights and like pretty much 80% of the 3rd fight in one night. And I fucking hate Todd for it. If he ever does that shit again, like
What do you mean if he does it again? Just say no next time.
Like, I love Todd as a raid caller. Shout out to Todd. Todd is like probably one of the best raid callers ever. But goddamn, he took me to Vietnam, and I don't want to go back. That's my story.
You saying that just makes me want to watch Cobra Kai. That's it. That's all you saying that it makes me want to do. So that's what's coming to mind right now. Sly, I'm glad that you got to have that experience.
It was 8% in rage, wasn't it? It was 8%.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's... Yeah, so yeah, you saw the whole fight if it's an enrage. That's not 80% of the fight. That's the whole fight, pretty much.
Yeah, the whole fight, yeah.
Like
you were dead, but you saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, Tanks lived, but the rest of us were fucking dead.
Only Tanks being alive at 8% is not bad. That means through the rest of... Well, it means everyone died to Spark of Life, actually, so maybe it's not the greatest. Oh, man. I'm glad you got to have that experience, because normally, the last couple of tiers, you come on the show and you've maybe done a little bit of the first fight. So I'd like to thank Todd.
Fuck him. I mean, I love him to death, but fuck him. God damn it. No, never again.
Do it again, Todd. Just invite him. He won't. If I've learned the fact that he's actually playing Final Fantasy XI, Todd, it's because he actually can't say no. You're regretting that decision.
I was thinking about making a really like yesterday. People brought it up. I'm like,
no ultimate weapon, Sly. I know that you would have been dumb. I've done them before. No, stop.
Yeah,
He's gonna make a fucking Rema, Arthars.
We had this conversation. I was like, yeah, let me just enjoy fucking 11. Like, I don't need more. No.
Oh my god. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get us back on track because that was the first question that I asked: is how we felt about the raid tier. And as and like we said, it's a very discussable topic at the moment. It's not boring. We'll put it that way. So, I think we can probably quickly brief through a few of the fights and generally the prog experience, the PF experience, the strategies, whatnot. So we'll start with a fun one. We'll start with 5, because as was mentioned earlier, 5 is the perfect showcase that Savage doesn't need to be incredibly hard to produce something that is of substance, and that was a royal treat for me. It's always good to start off the raid tier, and we gotta admit their second raid tiers usually have pretty good first fights. Weirdly enough. There's it's strange. Well, I mean, it depends on if you like Ramu or not. Like, I'm a big fan of Ramu.
Ramu is great.
I love Ramu.
Yeah, I love Ramu.
Ramu was okay. Ramu was okay.
Momo's not a fan. Momo, you did a lot of speed kills that tier. You might have some different opinions though.
It was hard, sure, but fucking substance-wise, it had nothing going for it. I thought Furious Force even bad. The only cool mechanic was Chain Lightning, which was solved by standing in a circle.
Yep.
But for a turn 1 though, it's not bad. I mean, this Proto Carbuncle is definitely better.
Yeah.
But Ramu is a good first one, I thought. One of the best. I mean, there's not a lot of good ones, but...
And I'm specifically talking about second tiers as well. So it's like before that you would have Phantom Train, which I thought was a decent first fight. I don't like going back and doing it, but I had a pretty positive opinion of it back around the time it came out. And then
I thought Phantom Train was boring.
And Midas had a great first boss.
I mean, Midas is one of those. Yeah, I mean that's the staple.
Yeah,
it's not.
Midas
really
is the animal one, right?
No, Midas was still okay. I think 5, 6, and 7 for Midas are still kind of okay to compare to nowadays, but it's 8 that's on a whole nother level. That's my opinion.
Turn ones are usually introduction. Turn 1 is where they want to experiment something.
Yeah.
Turn 1 is where they want to bring in the players and introduce Savage. I thought Ramu did that.
Yeah.
I thought Phantom Train did that. Phantom Train is boring, sure, but Phantom Train is something we never really done before. Like, first thing first, how different it is, the arena is, right? Second, how we bounce back and forth. Like, if you, like, for a fan, right? Able to beat a trainer like we did that in FF6, but able to see in FF14 how they're gonna do it, how we get onto the chimney, how we get into the cabins. I thought those were quite interesting. I really like. I Phantom Train is like one of my favorite turn 1, not because they are good fights or anything, but what they done with it,
cinematic.
And then for for Ramu, for a turn 1, I've seen way worse. I've seen more boring ones, right? So Ramu is okay. This one is really, really good. What is a bad turn 1? Let me
It's
think.
all right. You don't need to think very hard to think of all right. Yeah. All right. I'd I mean, even just looking.
Oh, the snake.
You know, it's funny. I think Coil actually has all very good first boss. Even Caduceus, I thought, was pretty good for way back in the day. Like for a very first raid boss we ever had.
The Caduceus was like.
No, Caduceus is the snake from the very first.
Snake, the double snake.
Yeah, the double snake. Yeah.
Yeah, the snake.
Even just thinking back to how simple the
the
game was back then.
Back in
it was
the
a really good
days
intro.
when we had ads in our fucking Savage.
Yeah, we had to
Back in
spawn
Murder.
slimes and feed them and all that shit. And Rafflesia going back to second
arena,
tiers. Yeah.
And that arena was quite unique.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You got the Z-axis to play with as well, yeah.
Yeah, but this was great for it's such a simple arena, it's such a small arena, but they do a lot with it. They try to force you to be moving around, but
that's what I like because
Yeah.
some drops have specific strengths. Like I think Scholar Sage, bigger arenas favor Scholar, smaller arenas favor Sage. So like that kind of it's actually really interesting when they introduce stuff like that because it kind of gives certain jobs more of a niche, you know, and I really like that.
Yeah, and this one just it just took a lot of really simple concepts. I mean, it was very much like normal mode for the most part. You know, it does a room-wide AoE, and then it can reflect attacks, and they throw a couple more things in there. But the way they force you to interact with the crystals on the arena, the actual barriers, you know, how to move between, it's just something that is a series of very simple and quick decisions, but they're satisfying to do, and they happen quite fast-paced for a first fight. I think the pacing is really the big thing that Proto Carbuncle has going for him, and really false hope for the next two fights after you do that.
Kind of reminds me of A10S, you know, a little bit, where it's like mechanically very simple, but pacing wise very good. Because the mechanics are having usually in pretty fast paced manners, and there's a bit of RNG with it as well. You know, it's like each pull, no back to back pull is ever going to be the same, which is like to me, I'm really glad they started doing that because I mean. It wasn't really until mid Shadowbringers where they even started implementing RNG in their rotation, you know? Like everything was pretty much static the whole way through. But it's really nice that they're starting to go down this RNG route of either players getting different debuffs, you know, or just things not being, I guess, as selective, you know, not role-based.
Yeah, the big
thing, something different happening.
The big thing that they do, they've been doing it for a few tiers now, but it's a bit more evident in this tier, is for the first several fights, it's usually a series of 50-50 decisions. Regardless of whether or not it's role-based, there's usually one or two outcomes for the easier stuff, and then the later the tier gets, the more, you know, 1/3, you know, 3 different possibilities, maybe 4 different, and then it's ultimate where you can have fucking 26 possibilities or permutations or whatever the heck you're going to be expecting. And this fight does boil down to a series of 50-50s. You know, it's just that there's so many of them that I think it really shows a new player kind of how you're supposed to think about raiding. And that's what a first fight is supposed to do. It's about saying, okay, when I see this, this is how I react. But if I see this, this is how I react. And that's it. That's the only thing it wants to test of the player. And if you can heal and mit, which there's actually a lot of damage in P5. Very surprisingly.
Yeah, a lot.
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot more.
There's a lot of heat. Dude, the Busters, oh, no.
Yeah, they went ham on Busters this tier.
Good. They need to keep it like that.
Yeah, they did not mess around. I mean, Tank and Voln's most worthless they've ever been this tier versus.
What's really good, and it's something I talked about a lot for Voidwalker, and why Voidwalker was such a good fight for tanks, is that there's a Buster every 60 seconds. All these fights share the same thing where there's a Buster literally every 60 seconds. And on top of it being this every 60-second Buster, it's also a heavy hitting Buster that leaves a bleed on you. So it's like a double whammy.
Plus autos.
Like it needs, plus the auto attacks. Yeah, on top of the bleed, I mean, it adds up real fast. I mean, I've seen tanks drop from like half to 0 in almost a second just because, I mean, you don't mitigate the bleed enough, and then you just take like a smack 20-30k dot hit on top of another 20k auto, and boom, you're dead, you know? But yeah, I mean, like the Buster frequency is also really important. I mean, there's times like, example, Eden's Promise, right? You deal with 3 Busters in an 8-minute fight. Like there's nothing going on there, right? You literally kitchen sink each one or invuln. So it's like, it's really pathetic when you see stuff like that, you know? Like, I think if they want to make good tank designed fights, they need to make a Buster every 60 seconds. And then like, because when I think of a good fight, I think of like Final Omega, right? That fight was insane for tank damage. It was almost perfect, I think. buster every 60 seconds on top of mini busters throughout the whole fight, and I think maybe like a couple of big busters here and there. Like it was really well designed, and I think that's the fight they should strive to kind of almost
Hey,
copy.
speaking of busters, we go back to P7 after the knockdown. You know, after the extra flare, you get knocked out. No more tank busters. From purgation to the end of the fight, there's no tank busters. I don't understand why.
You're right. Actually,
Yeah, during all of
did-
harvest
why-
and everything. Yeah.
Why did it stop? It's a turn 7. It's a finale of a turn 7. Why did it just stop?
I think I know
like,
why.
For me as a tank, I'm
Because
like,
Because it's
throwing everything in the
Yep.
kitchen sink at you.
Yeah.
In 3 minutes.
yeah, it's because
Yeah.
they backload 3 of the 4 horsemen's, and by the way, that bugs me. There's no pestilence harvest. It really
Right.
it really upsets me.
It's
Right.
interesting because not from like a tank perspective too, but from a healing perspective, there's no healing after purgation. Like literally, it's just make sure you're topped, make sure you have shields for every harvest. You're done. You know.
Yeah.
Like it's weird.
It's
'Cause
very
it's
weird.
just like a mechanical check. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, Proto Carbuncle, I thought again, really strong start to the tier, which then makes getting into 6 a little more and
Fuck that berry.
you want to know what's really weird about 6? I predicted this exact outcome because whenever they make a normal mode that has so many things and you're like, wow, they could do all when you get to Savage, it's always so streamlined that all of your imagination from normal mode just goes out the window. It always happens. And that's exactly what happened here. There's stuff in normal mode that just doesn't even show up in this at all.
why is the spinning part not happening?
So the spinning part's actually replaced with Flood Ray. But if it was like a later tier fight, what they would have done is they would have had a 1 for front and back. Like you would have had to have 2 people doing it. So it would have been 4, but it would have been hitting 2 people each time. That's one of those, like, it's an early fight, so they didn't go that far with it.
Yeah,
Clearly.
exactly. I think that's the main problem with P6. P6 has such a great potential, but because it's a turn 2, and turn 2 is still an introduction, they can't do anything more with it. They could have done so much more with the pillars as well. You know, the swapping and stuff. They can just throw in 1 more. They can. I guess it can be a little bit more orangey. So it doesn't need to be fixed. This pattern is this 2 safe spot. That pattern, you can only go this spot. This pattern, you have to run there. Like, I think you can make it more orangey. But like you said earlier, right? Earlier Savage, especially like turn 1, is always about the 50-50 decision. Then maybe when you go into the turn 2, they add in 1 more. They add 1, and then ultimate you have, like for example, Wormhole, you got 8 different one for some ultimate mechanic, like even the I don't remember what that's called. You know, the meteor, the tower, the second trio in Torden. You also
Sanctity?
have only you also have just a little bit more. They add in more and more and more. Do you get the first one, the strength of the ward? Do you have the blue one or not? Do you need to go to exterior, or do you go in front of Torden? So it's like early mechanic is always just a little bit lesser decision making, and then they start to introduce more, right? So for this P6, it's like we can't do more with the pillars because it might make you, instead of looking for 2 safe spot or 1, now you have to look for the 16th house. So we can't make it that you have to pick 1 of the 16, 2 of the 16. We just let you pick 2 of the middle 4. And for them, that's all they can do with the swapping pillars, right? That's all they can do. I think they can do a lot more. If that's the turn 3, P6 would have been a way better fight. And what P7 is as it is, it could just be they could have just make it a P6, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my biggest problem. But not to mention the DPS check. Proto Carbuncle, you can make. I mean, to be fair, Proto Carbuncle, most mechanic, if you fuck up 1 mechanic, it's usually over already. And those damage down, and when you get the damage down, it includes the devs, and then the recovery, and then the healer having to heal a lot, lesser DPS on the healer point part. I thought Proto Carbuncle have a tighter DPS check than P6S. P6S, you can have all the damage down, it wouldn't even matter. You can use a tank LB3, it didn't matter.
Yeah,
you know?
you think I'll be in prog to choose a mechanic. Yeah, it's
Oh, it was, dude. We literally had 8 people die to like a Cachexia 1 because somebody went to the wrong side. We just healer LB'd and then did the rest normal, and then we all got hit by like a bunch of other shit, and it was like not even close. It's like
I think one of the main things that I think one of the biggest failures, I don't really like using that word, about P6 is that they picked mechanics not well suited for a second turn. Because there have been good second turn fights, but you have to pick mechanics that are good for it. For example, Voidwalker was a really good second turn, I thought. Mechanically, obviously not hard, but it was fun. And I think that's what really matters. The issue with P6 is that it literally sits there casting a lot of shit half the time and then doesn't do anything. Does like a tank buster AoE that takes like 30 to 45 seconds long. And then you have pretty easy to do mechanics, right? Just literally sidestepping, going out, stacking in, moving. You know, they're not fun and engaging mechanics, right? I think that's the biggest issue with P6 is that they picked mechanics not well suited for a second turn, and they just double down with it. Because there's also really good second turns, right? Like a Voidwalker. I even thought Ifagruta was pretty good for what it was.
Yes.
Yeah, just a little too backloaded. Tiny bit backloaded, but not ultra backloaded. Like, but you know, it gets bad.
It's slow. It's not only just slow, but those mechanics can be solved within 3 seconds. You know immediately where to go. You got so much time. You got so much space. Proto Carbuncle, on the other hand, is you got barely enough time for you to make the correct decision. And the little orange, like, okay, for example, if you look at the, I mean, those swappable pillars also have difference. They have the long, or they have the short, they have the plus, or they have the cross. Okay, but one look, you immediately know where's the safe spot already.
Yeah.
Versus Proto Carbuncle, the poison puddle, the one that tanks and melee have to take 2 inner, and the range have to take 2 outer. Those are also really, really, really easy mechanic, but those pose and given more problems to players than looking at the near far X plus swap. That one take less than 3 seconds to figure out. The poison puddle, you were given like maybe 2 to 3. No, I'm sorry. The poison puddle give you maybe, how many times did it take? 8 ticks, right? It gives you so much time, and people still can mess it up. Whereas it's impossible to mess up the tower, you know. So far, like a second turn is like it is more, you know.
Yeah, Cachexia 1 is really, and Cachexia 2 are the only potential, like, I guess, major pain points. And even those are still, unless everything falls apart at the seams, it's usually okay. Yeah, you just need the tanks alive for the busters, and usually you'll be fine from there. And you can wing the rest with damage downs and all that stuff. It's just, I think some of it, this is more the result of the tome gear. I think that we have this opinion right out the gate. And even with 5, 6, and 7, all that with the tome gear, I think this is the result of us having more gear than they're prepared for. But I don't think it would have been that much different without one tome weapon and like a few people maybe having, another piece.
I mean, we don't have a tome weapon at that point yet, right?
True.
It's still
True.
primal only. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still that simple check. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. There's just like maybe legs or like accessories or something. Somebody, like, bunch of people who aren't getting the weapon might have picked up.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. This turn 2 is very, very unfortunate, sadly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't
at
get
least
much better.
Carbuncle carried. Carbuncle definitely carried the intro welcome to Savage vibe, you know?
Yeah. Well, we're going to go on to talking about another disappointment, but before we do that, we Momo with the audible oof. All right. We actually have something that we've put off for quite some time because we haven't done a show in several weeks.
Have we?
Well, Sly, it's been a bit of a rough time for me, so I didn't want to do a show for the past several weeks.
I know. And I even volunteered. I reached out to him like, do you need me to do these giveaways? He's like,
well,
no.
Sly, you know what? You can do half of them because I looked at how many we have, and I don't think we can do all of them in a show. Because the answer is 10 we were supposed to do. And we are at 0 at the moment, Sly. So we should probably get a moving on that. You can do one for like for like the radio or whatever, you know, like for Allure or something. And then we'll do the rest now. But as many of you may be aware, we did a collaboration with Duty Commenced about a month ago before the patch release. We were on there, and they did a few giveaways, giving away. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to double check to make sure I have the prizes correct. But there were the globes, correct, Sly? They were the floating moon things, and I'm gonna double check that because it's been a few weeks, and I checked before, but I'm a stickler for the details. They gave away a few of those there, and we were supposed to do a few Why does it say you're playing Google Chrome, Sly, on my phone? on Discord. That's weird. And so, yeah, we were supposed to do a bunch, but then we didn't do State of the Realm for quite some time. So then here we go. Yeah, let's see. Okay, yeah, that seems to be right. I think I've got it correct. I don't actually see it say that anywhere. I am remembering right, Sly. It was the globes. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was.
It was the globes. All right, I'm going to take your word for it. Because I couldn't find the word globe anywhere in the message, so I was getting worried. We have a few globes to give away courtesy of Square Enix and the Duty Commence squad. These giveaways are limited to North American residents, but we're going to be doing 5 giveaways throughout the rest of the show. We're going to start compiling entries now, and towards the end of the show, we're going to quickly pick through 5 names to get that. So if you haven't seen
we're just going to shotgun 5 names?
Yeah, we're going to shotgun 5 names, Sly. 5 is a lot of giveaways. There's a lot of giveaways.
I mean, yeah. I mean, 10 is a huge amount, so I'll have to, like I said, I'll have to do 5. That's fine.
Yeah. All right, well, for those of you looking to obtain these, I kind of want to just get a picture is the problem, Sly. I was waiting for you to show up so much this morning that I didn't, that I was like, okay, I got to wait for Sly. Well, I mean, Duty Commence might have one in their initial tweet. What, Sly?
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to our conversation.
See, I did that and I couldn't find it. That's why I was worried. See, this is the kind of show we put on, and this is why we don't have show notes or anything, because the chaos is far more entertaining. Yes, the chaos. I can't even find that Duty Commenced. It was so long ago. Oh, man. I'm trying to find it, because I could have swore they tweeted a picture from when they did the giveaway that one time. Yes, chaos. They tweet a lot. If there's anything I've learned, Sly, they tweet a lot. Because it has taken me a while to even find the post where we said that we were going to be on. Well, we are going to be doing a giveaway, and we're going to be doing 5 of them. And I know what the entry code is going to be. So while I look for this, everyone, if you're a North American resident and a follower of the channel, just type the word globe. Doesn't matter the punctuation, the capitals, doesn't matter. We're going to be pulling winners at the end of the show, though. So don't go anywhere. And if you're on YouTube, don't type globe in the comment section, because you're not going to win anything. You can do it, I guess. Feed the algorithm is as good as it's going to get, but that's all there is to it. Yeah, here's the live letter, but where's Duty Commence? Can't find it. Oh, man. Oh, well. Well, we'll figure something out. There it is. Yeah, I found the post for Duty Commence, but there's no picture of the globe there. There's somebody shared an image of it. There we go. Arthars and Momo are like, there it is. That's the globe. Yeah, because it's not the moon. It's a globe. That's a very small image, but I'll take it all the same. That works for me.
I thought it's a moon one.
No, the moon one would be moon. This is globe one. I forgot where this was initially sold and or put, because I don't actually have one of these. I don't have one of these globes. I don't have any space for one. I don't want one, but there we go. Globe. Very professional globe. Just pull it up in front of them. Yeah, just pull it up in front of all of our faces. They don't care. They just want to know what the globe looks like. Yeah. That's the globe. Yeah, so if you're an NA, type globe, stick around till the end of the show, and I'm going to pull 5 winners real quick. And I'll hit you up in Twitch. I will end up needing your character names and your server, I believe, as well. So, Yes, character names and world server names. Yes, perfect. All right. And by the way, I didn't actually pull it up over it. There it is. There you go. That's the globe. Globe this? No, do not globe this. Definitely do not globe this. NA resident, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Yeah, NA residence.
Yes.
Not NA server. NA. Because then you could just make a character and just claim it. No, this is no. You got to be a resident of North America. There you go. Because it's a physical globe. So there you go. Do not glob. All right, we got through that, but we'll pull winners towards the end of the show. And that whole debacle was more exciting than our next topic, anyway. So that works.
Not wrong.
Yeah, because then you got
boy.
P7.
Oh no.
P7.
Tree.
I wish the only thing this tree made me wish is the only way I would have had fun in this fight is if I actually was high. That's all. That's all I took away. It's the only way I would have had fun in this whole fight. Square, we gotta have a talk. You have a really bad habit of the second tier third fight not being good, and I don't know why.
When is the last time we get a good second tier third fight? Guardian?
Yeah, let's
I-
go.
No,
let's
I
go
hate
historically
Guardian.
No. I know. That's what I'm trying to say. The fact that the last one that is good, a second tier, right? We are talking about second
Yeah,
tier.
second tier.
Was Guardian. That's pretty sad. That's pretty sad. You know? Ugh.
All right, besides Guardian, who else do we have in second tier third fights? Who else?
You have Bird Bitch, the Gears of War Krill looking motherfucker, Idol of Darkness.
I thought Phoenix was pretty
Oh,
good
yeah.
with their turn.
Yeah, Finney's good.
Which
yeah.
one?
Well, I mean,
Phoenix.
again, we're talking about second tier.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I actually think Phoenix gets thrown under the bus for being too orange. I actually thought it was way better than this a million times.
Yeah,
over.
I think mechanically it keeps you on your toes, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this one keeps you on your back or your front, I guess, or your stomach, whatever. However you sleep.
Yeah, I'm a side sleeper. And then, yeah, what I guess if you want to go all the way back, you have Avatar. Hey, listen, Avatar
That's
Savage, Avatar Normal is okay. Avatar Savage is still one of the better fights that we've ever had.
Yeah, T8 Savage is really good.
Yeah, so but that's cheating. That was like T8. That's more like T8 Ultimate, realistically, in terms of like comparing it to a Savage tier, I guess. But then you also have, I mean, I guess you have Cat and Ball. You have A7.
Cannonball is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, A7
Seven's
is
the
good.
best third turn in the game.
Yeah, that's probably my winner, in all honesty. So I'll go with that. Cat and Ball.
Not only you know, just now we talk about how turn 1 and turn 2 is usually introduction to you know, some of the creative idea. Like if you wanna do something different in Savage, turn 1 and 2 is what you're gonna try to do with Phantom Train. The A7S they do with the cages, those are new. During that time, those were new. Even today is pretty new. I don't think they ever done stuff like that ever again.
Cages standing on the
Segmenting.
poison vents to stop them from coming up, and then having DPS checks on the locks, and then having people have to do individual DPS checks inside of their cages, etc., etc.
Experiment, but awesome. Turn 3. And then you actually also have a good DPS check, not only on the heart, but also on the boss itself. Healing check. Like everything was experimental, but done perfectly right, you know? And that comes after an amazing turn 2. They kept it up, you know? And then we all know how it ends. That's why Midas is the best one. From the start to the finish is just, there's nothing wrong with the whole raid here, you know?
There were no
So,
bugs in
Walker is pretty
Midas. There were no bugs in Midas. That's a meme some people get. It's also between second and final coil difficulty. Don't forget. Midas was a time, but that's not where we're living. We're living.
Do you think we will ever? Do you think we will ever go back? You know. Remember at the early part of the show, I say, you know, I want Savage to be like. I mean, obviously the QOL back then didn't help, but do you guys think we will ever go back to Midas? No.
Maybe if it was like a revamped Midas, like they maybe will do at some point, but I doubt they will do that either.
Midas Unreal.
Yeah, like I mean, they said they didn't like do that though because they want
Yeah.
to trample on like
They
the
should.
legacy.
No, they'll trample on it while it's current, like this tier.
Oh yeah.
Midas was the last tier they nerfed while it was current too. It was like 4 weeks after it came out. Also,
Yep. Yeah.
something in common. Well, one thing that these two tiers don't have in common is a good third fight. And this one is, man, that's upsetting. Because here's the thing. Visually, it's really cool. Thematically, normal mode almost makes you kind of hopeful that there's like a... But it feels like what they would normally do for a second tier in the third fight. It just has a lot more health because it has a higher item level requirement. And that's kind of where it ends.
Mm-hmm. You remember just now when you said how you predicted turn 2 to be the way it was?
Yeah.
The way it is? Before the Savage came out, when I saw the normal mode, I said the exact same thing. I think I look at it, I'm like, oh boy, this turn 3 is going to be right there with Leviathan, how it might be front-loaded, how it might be boring. It might be like Idol of Darkness. Typically, they don't have a good track record with big bosses like this in a turn 3. And then they split the platform and stuff. They make the platform different, and they never have good result with it. And I'm surprised. It turned out worse than I thought, because actually normal mode, right? Normal mode have some forbidden fruit that actually you would think that, you know, sometimes when you look at normal mechanic, you ask yourself how they can elevate this, how they can elevate this. I mean, they did in the harvest. At least the harvest is okay, but those forbidden fruit, right? You sometimes look at the normal, you felt like, dude, normal mode have even better creativity than that. Like one of the most, for me, the most prominent one was, do you guys remember the bird with the tower when it was a triangle platform in normal?
Yeah.
Why is Savage why does Savage give you the whole arena to do that mechanic?
I don't know.
Why normal mode fix you? Like, by the way, I'm not sure whether this is real or not. When you do the normal mode, there was 4 pillars, four meteor towers.
Yes, there are. There's 2 that are on the front platforms and 2 in the back platform, yes.
Did you see the trailer?
I was just about to bring that up. The pattern in the trailer never shows up. Yeah.
The trailer had 6. So where did they go?
Well, not only did it have 6.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so the trailer not only had 6, but the birds would go, so they were on the in-between like pathways.
The platform.
So the bird would dash through the platform, and then you'd have to actually fill in afterwards. So yeah, no, that
Where
the
did
trailer
that go?
that trailer had a pattern that doesn't show up in normal or savage.
That would have been cool if
Yeah.
they like bait the birds
Yeah,
or like
you
point
know,
the birds
when-
and then move to your tower.
Yeah. Because when we were theory crafting, we were like, wait, I think they show savage footage.
Yeah.
How did you know? There was 6 pillars. Oh my god. Let's prepare for 8.
Yeah, 6 pillars. 6 pillars reads to me like 2 tank busters and everyone else doing a tower. Like that was the first thing that I saw, or when I saw that.
Yeah.
So, trailers are wonky, man. Sometimes we just get shit.
This is the first time it's been inaccurate. I don't think I've ever heard of a
So,
trailer.
you know when the last time I remember a trailer being inaccurate? Saint Mosion's Arboretum normal mode. They said they actually super nerfed that boss from development to launch, and the trailer has like one of the like in-betweens, like where it's got some things that don't show up in the actual dungeon. That's the last one I remember off the top of my head. So
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, it must be like really early development footage then if they put it in the trailer.
Yeah.
That's interesting though, huh? I never knew about that.
yeah, and you know what? It's funny when the trailer makes the fight look better than it's
True. I wonder why it's called trailer, right?
Yeah. It's more of a teaser in this case, I suppose. Or at least with that individual section.
Look what you could have gotten, but you didn't.
Oh, well, in that case, it's like most of the industry. Anyway. Sorry. That was I'm sorry, Cyberpunk. I didn't mean it. Listen, the game's better now. All right? It's going up there. I don't know what else to even say about that fight. It's just, I don't even want to talk about it.
It's really weird because like P7 Purgation was really cool. It was really cool. And then once the Sleepo Purgation came out, it almost ruined the fight because the fight went from something with like at least an actual mechanic somewhere in the fight to literally just a Stone Sky Sea dummy. Like it's legitimately there's like a 10-11 minute Stone Sky Sea dummy where you're not really using your brain too much. You know, like maybe at the very end for the harvests, especially if you're fresh to them, like once you understand them, it's like, man, everything is just a stand here, stand here, stand here, stand here, stand here, and you're done.
You know, the purgation, right? Like the very first time you do it, based on our normal thinking, right? Oh shit, you got 3 platforms, they cut off one, we rotate 2. It kind of makes sense, like that's a cool mechanic, a lot of damage, and then utilizing why you designed this fight to be like that. Because the platform is one of the key highlight, right? That they make the fight this way, they limit randomly one of the platform, they make you play around 2 with the mechanics, right? So it's like, wow, finally in this fight, we finally see the reason why this platform is, because that's a cool mechanic. You do it the first time, it was cool. Then you are like, this is what P7 should be about. This is what the turn 3 should be about. You know, this is what we expect. Once the sleeper purgation mechanic comes out, for me, right, at least, right, how I look at how they go around with this, my mindset completely changed. So wait a second. You are telling me you guys are talented developers. You are telling me this is a turn 3, a savage turn 3. Savage turn 3 is the gateway to now you are doing savage. Turn 1 and turn 2, welcome to savage. Now here's a savage fight. You are telling me you guys are the big brain, right? You guys are being paid the money, right, to do the fight, to make it pop. And you are telling me this is what happened. You can squeeze all people in it. Now, is it intended? That's a conversation. I'm not sure whether you guys want to delve in. But you are telling me you guys miss it. Or you guys intended for it.
1 second, Sly. Everyone in chat who entered the giveaway, I just looked over and the bot had frozen. Please retype globe. Just wanted to interrupt before. It didn't record a single person. So if you wanted to enter the giveaway for the globe, North American resident, be a follower. Okay, it's counting now. I reset it, so it's working fine. Okay, yeah, just enter North American resident. I'll need your character and server names if you win. Be here at the end of the show for the giveaway. Okay, let's continue.
Yeah,
is anything ever really intended? Like how many times has the hardcore side of the community been smarter than the devs?
A lot of the time. So actually, yeah, more often than not. Actually, I mean, this goes way back. I mean, the devs have learned a lot over the time. But I remember when Ninja came out, they didn't predict people would pre-pull Huton, and the job wasn't designed around that. Everyone's like, well, why don't we just do a 15-second countdown and you'll do Huton, then you start with your opener, and the devs were like, oh shit. I didn't think about that. And that was the start of a plague in Final Fantasy 14 with pre-pulls. That's crazy.
But in their apology, they say they have more time this time to test P8S.
Yeah.
There's also obviously translate into they have more time to. I assume you got more time to test everything.
No,
in the raid tier, right?
I doubt that. I bet they wrapped up and finished them and they were done, and then they spent more time on P8 you can tell P5, 6, and 7 versus 8, they are not balanced the same. Like you can tell as soon as you get to 8 how different like the QA process must have been between those two categories. So no, I don't think so. But a lot of the times, I'll give you a great example of the players being smarter than the devs. A more recent one, Ultima Weapon Ultimate. Okay. Garuda. We were not supposed to wake Garuda late. We were supposed to wake Garuda right at the start, and they were like, "Oh shit, we didn't think people would wake them with the wind later in the later part of the phase." But they also said, you know what? That's on us, the players. They they better in this case, so we're not going to fix that. That's on us.
That's their philosophy, though. They actually made it. There was an interview a while ago, I remember, where they were talking about how they don't like designing mechanics where it's just you have to do it this way. They like designing mechanics that give players the creative freedom to come up with potentially really cool strategies. And I think that's why it happens so frequently. Is that it's a byproduct of the way they design fights. And honestly, I mean, it's a trade-off. Sure, sometimes it can make mechanics easier, because also Inception was another mechanic that players did that wasn't intended for the devs, because we did box strat, and that kind of almost neutered the mechanic, right? But I think it's interesting, right? Because then you get stuff like, I think a good one's like Brambles from Cloud of Darkness, right? There's so
Don't
many
you
different ways
smile,
do that
Sly.
mechanic. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, like the Mr. Happy strat. You had Mr. Happy Brambles.
Listen, all I gotta say is if you were a caster and you were losing cast there, it's because you're bad. I did it on Black Mage. It was fine.
The pettiness.
Unless you're a white mage, I totally get it. That was bullshit for you. I'm sorry. Anyway, moving on.
But I was just saying, like, it's just a byproduct. I think it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, it's the same thing for like Rampant, right? Like, I mean, there's Ilya, Forsaken. I mean, their correct strat was Ayatori. There was Sharingan, Bowtie. There were so many different variations of strats you could do.
I'm just hearing about like 2 of those. What the fuck?
A lot of them are very similar.
And they don't do that, yeah. Okay, so you see, I agree, Momo, right? Some of those strats that you mentioned, right? Yeah, there are ways to expand your creativity to do those because those are positionals, right? Those mechanics are how you place this, how you create more space, how you make it better for roles, right? But this purgation got no excuse though. You already limit the platform into 2 already. You already limit the platform from a big circle to a triangle already. And you cut off 1 already. Sure, and you have a holy and you have a win. Surely that, I'm not saying that it has to be done one way, but with more limitation means lesser free way to do a mechanic, right? But if you allow this to seep through, you can do all mechanics on one platform and you just run around. I think it's I don't want to give them credit this time just for this mechanic. I don't want to say that they want us to do mechanic a different way. I straight up think they didn't measure properly.
What do you have?
Straight up. Yeah. Oh, I have this for my mechanic. You know, I need to make sure that the markers are in position. You know, proximity. Where is my max melee distance? Yeah.
Wow.
No, I don't think. I think for purgation. Yeah, I think for purgation they probably. I mean, there's no way they did because I mean it literally completely neuters the mechanic, right? I think the difference with like I guess like ramp is that like more or less each strat had similar difficulties just in different areas. So like overall it was more or less the same mechanic, right? Purgation literally goes from like a pretty decently hard savage mechanic to non-existent in like 3 seconds, right?
Free DPS.
Free everything. Free heal. I mean, the healing change for me is the big
healing
thing.
too. The healing was so bad.
Yeah.
Oh god.
It's not even about the positioning for me. It's actually doing it and everyone not being a fucking monkey brain and actually getting heals and contributing to MIT and everything.
A big thing about P7 too is that they designed mechanics that forced non-RNG. And what I mean by that is like, for example, the first knock-up, right? There's the 2 safe spots, and then the Bow of Atlas or Addis, whatever it's called. And it's always the back. Why is it always the back? Why not design a mechanic that forces you to maybe I don't know, like I mean I'm not a dev, so like I'm not trying to like sit here and like theory craft solutions, but like why not make a mechanic that potentially can utilize both the front and the back instead of just always being back? You know, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I felt like they went very easy with Bow of Addis in particular. I mean, even I thought it was going to say like the name of the skill would be like the left bow or something like that. And when it slams, it does the punch and you just have to remember the name of it. They didn't even do that or anything. They did the straight up normal mode arrows and everything.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest complaint about. Dude, it's a turn 3, man. It's a turn. If this is a turn 1, a lot of these things I would have let it slide. It's a turn 3. How is the punch just that? And then you have the arrow. You cannot make it like even tied. But title is a turn 4. Okay, but dude, a punch and then an indicator and then the time for a turn 3. No, right? And then just now when you guys talk about like Momo talk about why is it always the back? You know, some people in my chat told me, what if they punch the front and then they make it wider? Don't you hit your melee uptime? I'm like, okay, then why don't you just rotate the triangle? Now the triangle is how do I call it in English? Now the triangle is 1 at the front, 2 at the back. Now it's 2 in the front, 1 at the back, right? So if you invert the triangle and your further away platform are both left and right at the back, then they have the uptime, right? Then does this mean that now your mechanic can be front or back? So you're telling me because they make the triangle inverted where 2 is the front, 1 is the back, so they cannot punch in front, otherwise melee lose uptime. Then invert the triangle. How hard is that? I don't think that's hard. Does the harvest change? Does every mechanic that comes after that change? I don't think so. Most of the thing will probably remain the same. But now you have another RNG in the because always going to now actually I'm actually quite surprised. Now Momo talk about it. I always just thought there's a reason why people go to the front is because there's a safe spot. That's it. I didn't even know there was a punch at the back. I didn't even know. So you're telling me if I get knocked up at the back, the punch will hit me?
Well, it's after it happens during the bird cleaves.
Yeah. So there's
Wow.
like
With
the
two
back
stats.
AoE spot's actually a lot smaller because the punch actually like the punch and the bird kind of create a smaller space. The people in the front have like a mile of space to stand. It's pretty weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's the
Dude,
same.
I didn't even know that, man. What the fuck?
What's really interesting too is that like we all did Leviathan here, right? Like Savage, where it would
Yeah.
the heads would cleave left and right. You know, like you would have to like move through. They could have easily just implemented that into the tree swipes where it punches, right?
Yeah.
Punches once, you have to cross, punches again on the other side. They don't do that. It just sits there, it punches, it winds up the same time as normal mode. It just sits there, has like a 5-second cast, probably, maybe longer, I don't know. And it just punches. It's like why? Like why even
Yeah.
have that?
Yeah, and I was surprised that so the model used for Abyssos, I'm pretty sure, is the one from the Nier raid, the third boss from the first Nier raid. And that boss, actually does like he slams the back and like pulls his hands forward, or he slams the sides and he punches forward. Yeah, angles. Yeah, yeah. Even he does
That's
it.
the one therapy. That you again, we go back to you know, you have all this spare time. You got 1 week. How can turn 3? You know, I was like theory crafting with my chat. Oh, this punch, it can't be this way.
It's too
They show
simple.
you the arrow. It's too simple. Either it's gonna rotate, or maybe this is exactly just like near the factory. Maybe they will drag it back. If they punch the front, they will push it forward. Oh, how do you do this on the 3 platform? Oh, this is gonna be tight, but this is gonna be fun. Nope. Exactly the same as normal mode. That blew my mind. That really blew my mind. I was like, COVID's over, right? Like, development back to normal, right? Huh.
God.
I think another thing interesting about P7 too is it actually got a world record. It got a world record in Final Fantasy 14 history. It actually is the fastest cleared third turn after clearing a second turn. I think it was clearing like an hour 30 or 2 hours or something like that, which is insane. Because I think the next fastest was, I want to say it was Fatebreaker. I think Fatebreaker took a little over 3 hours. But man, yeah, like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the problem is your mind runs wild with what it could have been, knowing it never will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least it makes the next fight, which is actually good, seem even better.
You know, one thing I wish, right? Sometimes maybe, I mean, I know, you know, they have their live letter and stuff. I do like Yoshi P sometimes coming out to address stuff. You know, like, okay, usually he address when something really go in the shithole, right? Housing, nerfing this ball. But sometimes, you know, a live letter is mainly stuff about what we're gonna get. And then sometimes you have some, you know, fun Q&A and then fan fest and stuff. Sometimes I want more like dev panel, basically. Like, you know, after a raid tier, you know, they debrief themselves and then they debrief the play. Oh, wow, this is how we think it should be. Now that, you know, we have the data, we look at the data. Oh, this number is a lot better than we thought. A lot of people feedback this and that. Let me tell you why we designed the fight like this. And then like a little bit of cheat. Like, I want to know what is their process of thinking and what did they expect from this turn 3, how they think it will pose us a challenge. It's a turn 3 again. Specifically, if this is a turn 1 and turn 2, that would have been fine. But like for a turn 3, why this? Why did you make this? How did you allow this pacing to be this bad and then front load everything at the back? How did all these things not come together? Like, Sometimes I
Don't
want
they
to hear
usually do this?
stuff like
No,
this.
so
Don't they usually do this for the 14-hour broadcast?
no, I mean sometimes people bring it up, but honestly, the last time we had this was when the lead dev for Uwu stepped on stage for FanFest, where he talked about how he deliberately made the fight for streaming, so it would be a lot of fun to watch and maybe not as interesting the second time around. He went through how they designed Ultimate Annihilation, like literally every major mechanic and every major phase, broke down why it was done the way that it was done. It was a great panel. Still one of
Sweet,
the
that's
still one of the
great,
better.
It was
panels.
awesome. That was one of the best one, yeah.
I think you mentioned that there was always articles for Eden's Gate, Eden's Verse, and Eden's Promise all had Famitsu articles that were translated and posted on Auk Morning, and they would always go in such great detail about like how to design fights, and, like things like that. And they did. I think they did one. I didn't see one for Asphodelis. I don't think. I don't remember seeing a Famitsu article.
I bet there was. I think
It still wasn't translated. You know?
Well,
Yeah,
not even that
maybe.
it wasn't. I think it might have just flown under the radar because, like, there's.
Oh.
I'm positive I read something about Asphodelis, but I just tucked it to the side and I was like, yeah, whatever.
I'm actually gonna look it up right now.
Yeah, I feel like there's at least something, but probably not the same depth.
No, I don't see it. The last one was Eden's Promise. How Eden's Promise was made. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, either way, at least we get to talk about a good fight at the end of the tier because Hephaestus was. I after sleeping for all of Prague at this point, I was on. Now I was awake.
That definitely is it went from ha to ha. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a change in ha. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's beautiful is that it's still really not that different from. It honestly kind of reminds me of the first 30% of Titan going from normal to Savage, but like as a whole 50%. Where honestly, you probably could have predicted almost all of what happens in Hephaestus Phase 1, minus maybe one or two things. I mean, we went into Melusine when we saw the Gorgons. We were like, oh, maybe there's going to be like Voice and Shriek. And what do you know? They ended up doing that. But that didn't diminish it by any means with the extra week because they did everything. They didn't just do some of what they could have done. They did pretty much everything they could have done with what you see in normal mode and just cranking it up. And I loved it.
Yeah, the phase one is one of the best. Can I say fights since it's only like a door boss, but
It counts.
the whole that whole sequence felt extremely satisfying. Yeah. I mean, again, we are not going to job balance here, right? We are talking about raid.
I'm sure it'll
the fight
come up
itself,
to
right?
some capacity in our remaining however many minutes if we end up going over, but you know.
Yeah, okay. If you play the job that is balanced, then the door boss it's fucking amazing. Like the whole experience, your job mastery shows, how good you play the job shows, and how well they tune. I actually liked it. Now, again, I don't think they will ever come out to acknowledge it or admit it, but I actually felt the door boss was perfectly balanced to the week 2 gear. Perfectly balanced. The tome gear that we could get, the tomes that we could spend, they tune it perfectly. But this is only in the context of you were playing 7 out of 8.
Good jobs.
Meta job.
Yeah.
Good jobs. I think they nailed it. I love it because it brings me back to Gordius. It brings me back to I have to play well, and the players in the group felt like they have the obligation to play well. It's a fourth turn. It's literally the end game for this whole patch already. Maybe you don't hit it this time, maybe you can't get it done this time, but it's doable on the good job. I wish all 19 jobs are equally good that they can enjoy the process together, because there are some jobs, sadly, you can play perfectly, and if your group have 1 or 2 or 3 or more of those non-meta job, it doesn't even matter how well you play. It doesn't matter how many gear you have. It's not your fault. I feel like the only sad part for me for this door boss is that some players cannot enjoy it as it will be. It's fun. I'm pretty sure they enjoy min-maxing, for example, min-maxing their machinist, min-maxing their paladin, get to the end, your uptime is crisp, you get everything down to the T, no GCD loss, no directional loss, no clipping everything, and then you're like, yes, I mastered this turn. I mastered this door boss.
And you swap the Dark Knight, and then you beat it.
Yeah, you saw the Dark Knight. You just pick up. Me press button. Me press everything light up. Oh, boss died. Check damage. How is my damage doing? Based on my calculator, you did 400 more. How? How? I played like shit. Like, I feel bad, you know? I feel really bad, right? Otherwise, very well tuned. I love it. I hope they do more.
That entire precedent
like
does
this.
not read as very well tuned. It was so great, minus all that other shit, you know. But it's great, you know.
Yeah, it's really.
I just
unfortunate.
hope the balance. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's really unfortunate that if the balance was really good and probably more akin to Shadowbringers, probably would have been the week one DPS check. Probably would have been almost perfectly tuned. Yeah, like maybe they wanted to decrease it by like a little bit, but I mean they decreased it by like 1800 DPS or some shit, right? Like it's atrocious. They said it was like a 1%. They said it was like a 1% a nerf, but it ended up being like 3% overall or something.
It was
And
1.5% in the
Momo.
it was 1.5% in the first phase and 1% in the second phase. Yeah.
Yeah, and the 1.5
I heard that a
3.
lot. I heard that a lot. So okay, I'm not very very in depth, like in terms of like look at numbers, like you know, perfect percentages, right? When the developers say 1%, right, in my mind, right, I just thought like, oh, so instead of say, you know, getting 50.5% enraged, now it will be 49.5. Yay, that means we meet the check. Is it like that? Or when you say 3%, what you mean?
It means across
What
both
exactly?
phases. So it wasn't just the first phase that they
Oh.
nerfed. It was the first and the second. So it's about the boss I think is 588,000 health per 1%, and that's out of 100%, not out of the 50%. But it's still that equals 1%. And his HP was brought down I think by 750,000 or 800,000, somewhere in that range. So for reference, that's about 20 seconds extra. That's as if the fight was 20 seconds longer. About given how much your average GCD will deal. And then the second phase, it's like 300 something thousand health total that he had removed. It's about 1%, but that one's a little bit. That one, I think they might have had more justification doing, because one thing that was kind of bad with the second phase is that all your twos, the buff, yeah, all of your twos, like like crit variance in the second phase on week 1 is actually kind of bullshit. Obviously, it doesn't really matter much now, but that was probably more justified than the door boss was.
What I meant was that the door boss was reduced by a total of 3%, but because the HP is one for 2.
Yeah.
So 1.5 is because the door boss has so much HP, because like they need to like bounce it around, like, you know, that 50% mark or whatever they use.
Yeah.
It just has double the amount of HP. So like instead of losing the 1.5%, it's like 3%, right? So instead of losing, if it was like a true 1%, it would have been like a 600 DPS, I guess, buffer, right?
Yeah, but
instead
it's
of being 600,
instead.
it went from 600 to 1800, yeah. Which doesn't really make sense either, because the technically double would just be 1200, but yeah, I'm not sure what they did, but yeah, it got fucking neutered. That's like the best way to put it. It got neutered.
You want to know what was really hilarious for us? Obviously, we had massive issues with like, I don't know if you guys have heard everything in terms of like, we had somebody had a family emergency, and then we lost all of our hours in the first week, and then we had a power outage, then somebody got COVID. it was literally like the ultimate scenario. But the day they nerfed it, we did every mechanic perfectly, and then we were like, wait, so the change didn't even. Fuck this fight. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
It was weird. Like all they changed was the HP, but then we didn't have an issue with the HP. We only had mechanical inconsistency, and then when they neutered the HP on a bad run, we got a clear, and we were like, fuck, that's because of the nerf. That sucks. I'd rather have died there and done it in the original HP value.
In a way too, they also they almost mess up their own fight and farm, because now, instead of it being like somewhat still challenging for reclears, it's literally also now in a position where it's like, oh, let's get X pattern first, get Snake first, skip Car 2, don't have to do it, or get Car first, you can skip Snake 2, so you don't have to do Snake 2 in your reclear, right? You can just skip it, right? So now you're in now the fight's in a position where it's like, of course this was possible before already, right? but obviously you would have to have a much greater amount of DPS, right? But now like this is pretty obtainable to like almost every group, I would say, with as long as you have like a certain amount of gear. Now you're banking on certain patterns to skip certain mechanics that maybe your group struggles with more, so you don't have to do them, which is pretty it was pretty bad, I think.
I think most people aren't thinking about it because most people who are not clearing it at the pace, like either clearing it or coming close to clearing it in the first couple of weeks or whatever, those groups never really get to a point where they get to think about what to skip. You know what I mean?
Well, I just mean more so the fact that like the boss gets cast locked, right? So like like let's say you get to like 51% or push 49% in Snakes 2, right? At that point, you don't have to do anything. Just stop worrying about your rotation. Literally, just do the mechanics, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it just I don't know. It doesn't really sit well with me.
It was like that part is supposed to be like the finale, you know. That part is stressful. If you have to do Snake 2 and you are that close to beating the boss, that part is very stressful. And that part is actually quite challenging because you don't know what pattern you're gonna get, you don't know which group you're gonna be in, directionals. Can you like use your 1 minute properly and stuff? Like that part actually is quite a difficult. Like it provides the difficulty, but now it's like, yay, we did it. Ah, shit, we didn't push it. We have to go through the sequence. Doesn't even matter. It doesn't count in FF logs. I just walk around, pay more attention to mechanics. Just don't, mess up my gaze. It takes out quite a lot. Yeah, like even in parks, by the way. So in static is even worse. Like even in parks now,
Phase 1
it's
park
like
is so good.
Yeah,
so good.
I think parks got a lot better. Like these dog balls make parks a lot better for sure, I think. But then
no, all the pugs that can't pass the harvests they're back in the harvests, and the ones that have been chugging along here are the ones that really want to get it done. But the PF strats for P8 are so good because everyone was stuck for so fucking long.
They practice everything already. Yeah.
The natural alignment's still disaster later, but that's fine. That's expected. Ugh. You get through it.
Good fight, man. I really like the dog boss. They are one of the best savage. Like for me, that's a savage. That's a savage I want every turn, every phase. That's the type of savage I want.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna get that for like a turn 1, but
Yeah.
Hey, listen, this is as close as you were gonna get, as far as I'm concerned, for a turn 1. Just it's everything in between. Everything in between. And this always raises the question of the rest of the expansion. The second tier always sets or breaks moods and expectations for the rest of the expansion. But we have a very busy raid scene for the rest of this expansion still. We have Savage Dungeons probably in the next 4 weeks. Which realistically, I don't think will be crazy. I think it'll be a fun thing. I think a lot of us will go through it and enjoy it, but probably not going to be. I think it's
okay. Question. I might be forgetting. Is the Savage the one that can't even rest, or is Savage the one that has limited rest?
Savage is the one you can't even res. Yeah. And if you wipe, you have to start the whole dungeon over. Yeah.
That itself, I think that shit will take at least a couple of days. I don't think it will actually be fun and easy. I don't think so. I actually think just because you can't rest and you have to reset,
so
I actually think that will take long.
Here's what I think it's going to be. I think it's four-man DRS, where there's going to be weird shit, like you all have to go down a different pathway and like pull a lever at the same time, and there's going to be like a healer boss, like a solo healer boss,
like Minotaur.
Yeah, there's going to be 4 Minotaurs that you have to go down different paths to do. But with 4 people, realistically, the biggest fear is anyone doing anything wrong, because everything will kill you. That's what they've shown to us in the past. If they want to make it so that a permadeath is excruciating, literally every single thing will kill you. But what they're asking you to do isn't necessarily to the same level that you get out of an actual Savage encounter. Looking at going back to the original with Baldessian, those fights are not that hard. Mechanically speaking, they're not asking much of you. But any mistake is a death.
The stake.
Yeah,
the stakes
are very high for those much simpler mechanics. I think that's what's going to happen here because there's only 4 people. So now any mistake is really bad. But also, there's only so many mechanics you can do that involve 4 people. You don't have tank swaps. You don't have anything like that. It's just going to be down to the scaling and the strictness and how cryptic it is. How like, is it going to be like the first time we got to Minotaur and DRS, the second Minotaur before the final boss, which was an absolute madhouse? Or is it going to be like, you know, or I don't know, is it going to be more like BA where it's like, you know, you have Raiden and it's like, okay, everything here will kill me, but it's all like, it's a half room AoE, a baited AoE, yada, 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 you know.
How long do you guys think it will take?
I think it'll be done in 2 days at most.
2 days?
2 days is
Fair,
probably a good
fair.
estimate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2 days
I was
is
gonna
fair,
say
yeah.
3.
You also have to
I'll
remember,
say
you
3.
have to do Variant, Criterion Extreme, and then Criterion Savage. You have to do all 3.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you got to work your way up. So that's going to eat a lot of time. So, but I'm very much excited for that. But we also have another ultimate coming in point 3. In the last live letter, Yoshi P even reiterated, said, you know, we have another ultimate coming for point 3. Then we have another Savage tier for point 4, and then point 5 we're
Time
still
for another.
No,
time
it
for
will
another
not be
support
like
group.
DSR. No, it won't be.
We're getting another support group for this next ultimate.
It's not gonna. No,
All
it's
right,
not gonna be
get
like
ready,
that,
boys.
Sly.
Get ready, boys. We'll have Frosty on the panel for, you know, emotional support. We'll actually get someone, you know, in the mental health industry. You know, some people that actually, you know, help you. Because y'all were fucking done after DSR.
I love
Y'all were
DSR,
fucking- y'all
but
needed help.
I had active depression during that. Yeah.
Yeah, y'all needed help. Y'all literally needed help.
You know, like, you know, okay, maybe there's something wrong with me, right? Like, ultimate, right? I want to get to a point, right, that it make me feel despair. Like, actually make me for once really think this is not doable. Your others, this is not doable. You come back later or you don't come back at all. Like absolute virtue in Final Fantasy 11. I go there, I try it, and I'm like, there is no way. Like, this is not up to me anymore. This is not a one-man thingy. I can have
Final Fantasy 14 community would fucking like.
Most of them don't even do it.
If that were the case, if like
so much
nobody could do
drama.
this shit,
Yeah.
there'd be so much drama. Like, people be losing their
what's
fucking
crazy?
shit. Like, the entire Final Fantasy 14 community would just like.
You want to know something that's really
dissolve.
crazy about that? You just said there'd be so much drama.
What?
There really was no drama with DSR, was there? Anywhere. Even though it was like
there
has
was so
Was
much
there?
drama.
Really? Okay, to be fair though, Momo knows shit that none of us pay attention
Yeah,
to.
yo,
so-
tell us more. Yeah.
No,
What
I
type?
mean,
What- I mean,
like-
don't have to name
Like the
one.
add-on thing doesn't even count as drama. That was just like, okay, they did it. They used add-ons again, and Yoshi P said something.
like,
and that was, like
okay,
fucking
so
random.
I would always browse. So I'm sure you know the Reddit FFXV discussions, and every week there's like a weekly, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, you know, DSR, like, I guess, post, right? And I would sometimes read it on stream. The amount of static drama of just, it was insane. Like, I remember reading this post that there were 2,000 pulls in only on I think it was Eyes phase or transition phase. 2,000 pulls in, and then I guess they ended up exploding. But like, man, there was
I don't know.
There was like a lot of stuff. Most of the drama was just because of not even drama, just most of the issues, the frictions,
friction.
was just because DSR was so polarizing for the player base that it rubbed so many different people the wrong way, because it ended up being the situation of, oh, this person is holding me back. And I think that was the main, I guess, qualifier for all of those posts. That, hey, this person is holding us back. Kick him, or I'm leaving, or we had to kick this person in front of replacement, or we kicked this person and we end up disbanding. You know, everyone went their separate ways. That was there was a lot.
But it's an ultimate though. It's the pinnacle, the hardest rating, and it that's how we evolve, right? As a player, right? That's how we got better. That's how groups get better. That's why this Savage, for example.
I don't know.
Yeah.
For me though, that's not so much drama as it is groups really exposing whether or not if the group is right. Because so obviously with my situation that's going on recently, the big thing with us is we all agreed, even amongst our own meetings, that the team clearly didn't have the same objectives. Like what we wanted out of the group wasn't the same. We had a very civil, despite what people might think on the internet about the drama, we had a very civil discussion about this.
That should be the way, right? You're like, if you're doing an ultimate,
Yeah.
you guys are gonna be rubbing dicks. Okay, maybe not like literally, but like, you know, for like 7 to 10 days, 16 hours a day. Surely, like after the whole, like, even if you don't get to the end, right? Even if you don't clear together with your group, and then you guys sit down and say, okay, clearly, like Happy say, right? Civil discussion, right? This is we expected this. It didn't go out this way. Obviously, we all have to move on, right? To prep, right? Hey, but let's just say next time, if they are not going to make this again, you know, you can come back together. Like, it's going to be more civilized, right? Let's just say somebody holds you back. Then don't raid with him, the next, him or her the next time until him or her get onto the same level as you, or when you are willing to take a step down, right? Like, it's, okay, if this is savage, I guess I can understand, but ultimate, though, what do people expect?
Yeah, so
you see, this is the part that triggers me. Yoshi P is a gamer himself. Yoshi P wants something for the end of the end gamers. And Ultimate has already proven since UCOP that even after expansion, even after patch, even after level increase, they are still considered. It's a forever content. Just because you can't clear it in 7 days, 10 days, 1 month. And obviously the players that you guys part ways with, there's no need to have big ass drama over it, right? Just make a new group. You got a whole expansion. But I really want to do DSR when it's relevant. You got 2 years. You got until 7.0. Surely you can get it done. If you put in effort, like even parts, there's even public Discord that people organize. You got, you know, your current static is not dedicated as you think you are, but you have a community out there that is dedicated. Now even these door boss, by the way, even these PLS, even these this whole turn for, they are dedicated players, right? There's nothing much to look into it, and especially it's ultimate. Why are people making such a big deal, you know?
So, but that's the thing. That's why I think perceptionally, Ultimate, while it like exposed a lot of groups for not being kind of on the same page or just not achieving what they want, it was over a somewhat longer period of time. 2,000 pulls is a lot of pulls. This, everything that happened across anybody that you saw anywhere, that was within 3 or 4 days. It was like ultra crunched into like a super short period of time because it's Savage. We're used to going through it super quick. And so if there's like problems between like what jobs people want to play or whether or not people are playing properly or messing up a mechanic, like those become like aggravated like times 10. You know, like they get brought up and they get brought to the forefront because the expectation amongst a lot of those players is to have it done by a certain point. And that's a much shorter point than with Ultimate, where they might be like, you know, like, yeah, I'll beat it in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. No, that's not the case for this. I think that's why there's more drama for this one.
Why do people set these kind of like time frames, like expectations for quote unquote forever content?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's actually I think Asphodelos and DSR, Abyssos and DSR share very similar fundamentals of why a lot of things went wrong. Because both DSR, one, there was no Ultimate for 2 years, right? So there was no expectation of how hard it really is an Ultimate for some of these newer groups that were forming, right? Of course, we knew, but some people just don't.
I don't even think we knew when it came to DSR.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but that's the thing too. I think we were all almost pretty much blindsided with how difficult the fight was overall. And now that's amplified for groups who were not ready in the slightest either. And that was almost, it's almost simpler for Asphodelos, right? Where Asphodelos was, you know, very easy of a tier. It was the first tier of the expansion. It's the easiest one. Abyssos comes along and you can kind of tell some slight differences here and there. And then the final turn, that's where you get the huge difference between the 2 tiers. And I think people were like expecting like maybe, oh yeah, we'll kill this in like a day or 2 and it's not gonna be that big a deal. And then those groups that were expecting a day or 2 end up going to day 4 or 5, if not 6 and 7, and the friction of the group just starts, you know, getting tighter and tighter and tighter.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of the real point that I compare the most probably in like groups hitting that kind of breaking point is Nidstinian and this door boss are probably the two that I'd say are the closest comparison, because those two things really expose whether or not your group is all on the same page. Because most groups broke at Nidstinian.
That is the hardest phase. That is like your ultimate annihilation. You know, you have to do mechanics while meeting a check.
And that check was not light. Like, I mean, it was like once you got used to it, you blew through that check and you're like, oh, the boss is dead. Ha ha ha. But when you're going through
by the way, that was them being lenient.
Yeah.
You got a damage down and you can still proceed the fight. If they were to go more batshit crazy, the moment you get hit by the dynamo or chariot, you should be fucking dead. And you should wipe there.
But they make you live through the whole thing.
they actually is being lenient already. Let's just call him as lenient. Woo!
What was that?
So ridiculous, man.
And it's just such a different mindset between the two. Also, the chat brought it up earlier. Savage Week 1 is a sprint for people who are doing it. It is a completely different mindset than when you go into Ultimate, where there's kind of, even if you're not sure how hard it'll be, there's the expectation that you kind of feel good to get through a phase in a day, like as a prog point. Like if you do that, that's like a great day. If you told someone in Savage, oh, you'll get through a phase in a day, you'd be like, I'm fucking leaving. I'm not staying. So, yeah, there's just it's really interesting to see how it's all unfolded because of how this door boss turned out. Because normally we'd kind of be bored of the raid tier already 4 weeks in, but it's still like a major topic because it was 2 weeks of nonstop discussion followed by they nerfed it, which became its own discussion, which has bled into 2-minute buff window discussions and job discussions.
It bred a lot of problem. Yeah, it actually. I mean, the problem is already there. I wouldn't say it bred a lot of problem. It finally let us see properly, sit down and actually finally acknowledging some of these problem that has always been there. We've been questioning about it, but because it's Savage, you get it done with anyway, any job, any rotation, like even for parts, right? For static especially, right? You don't even need to play perfectly. You don't even need to align like PNX. Hey, are we doing 2-minute bursts? Are we doing 230? Are we bursting after PNX? Or are we, delaying 1 minute and use it on ops? For example, are we doing 035, 02 CD or 02 point? Like you don't even need to worry about that in Diablos, right? Now actually we have to, okay, we got the shit pattern first. We got the dog pattern first. Remember, either we hold. I think some group even say let's hold 2 minutes. Let's hold 2 minutes for 1 minute, and then some group is like we use 2 minutes on the Protea. Like it becomes so important that we have to play it perfectly, and because of the unbalance, it shows us more problem this time. It's not just about hey, we are accidentally overtuned. Hey, we bracket tune this to week 2 gear. It's more like a lot of things that in this expansion and Walker that we already questioned is now finally being shine in the spotlight. And yeah, we got problems now. This job, people already asking question already, but you can clear DSR. Hey, Reaper is so bad, man. Yeah, but Reaper is really good in P7 though. Machinist is so bad, but people can clear it. Well, now we got to a problem that legitimately, at least in week 1, no machinist. Hey, no paladin, like that's
no. We did have paladins and we did have machinists that cleared. In fact, we had a warrior paladin clear and a double fizz range clear week 1. I'm pretty sure, which is very impressive. Yeah. I was gonna make a point and I totally forgot because I interrupted my train of thought. Momo. Everyone's saying, speaking of breeding, what is Momo thinking? You go.
What?
Thank you, Care. Thank you, Care.
I think man, I think the biggest culprit is the fact is 2-minute windows are very how do I word this? Very you can't gain a lot of damage from them, right? They're very like the most damage you're going to get from a 2-minute window theoretically is either syncing up for later burst jobs like Dragoon at like a 1-minute window and then using 2s at 1 and then on cooldown, which is probably going to be your biggest gain, and or just syncing up with 90s in some way. But the issue with those two things is that they're a lot of effort for very minimal gains, and progression content is something you really generally don't want to do unless your hand is forced. And this is a huge issue because when you go back to Shadowbringers, you had 60s, 90s, 120s, and 180s, right? And almost I can guarantee you that SE 100% did not balance around you syncing up 2s with 3s, 9s with 2s. You know, it's just not something they did, right? They didn't. I almost guarantee you they didn't do that. So it was a very easy way to get extra damage. And now you could argue like, oh, hey, well, isn't it more balanced now because now SC can, you know, make a tighter DPS check around what they intended? But this was something you could do as a hardcore player or hardcore high-end static, actually, that lets you gain extra damage if you were somehow missing it. And now that doesn't no longer exist. So, and that puts you in a position where there is really nothing you can do anymore that will give you that extra damage. And it's just you pressing your buttons properly.
Please crit. Please, please crit.
Yeah. I mean, 2-minute windows are so influential now too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a whole show's worth of discussions, I feel. But I remember what I was gonna say is what we ended up doing is we ended up doing quick burst window at the start. So regardless of the pattern, we had it right around then. So it was like, you know, second GCD bursts. So
we did first GCD burst as well.
Yeah. So that worked out really well for us. But it's the trickle effect is the big concern here, because a lot of the discussion we're having does not apply to most people, right?
Yep.
But they don't know it doesn't apply to them. So they take what they hear as what is mostly a discussion, not an argument, not even a disagreement. It's a literal discussion about how things are panning out and why things are happening. But people who don't know or understand hear them and just replicate. So you see things like machinists being excluded from party finders, or someone parroting something that they don't fully grasp. And that's going to lead to a big wind up going into the next Savage tier if they don't do anything or they don't make the right steps. Because you're going to have everyone, all the top groups are going to do splits next tier. Anyone who didn't do splits this tier is 100% committing to splits. Week 1 next year. There's no chance it doesn't happen. And all the other people are going to think that splits is like a standard thing for raid groups to do, even though it's absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that what is used to be a very niche practice is going to be widespread.
Mandatory, yeah.
Or even mandatory.
That's the problem, right? That's one of the biggest, like, we don't want to see that because it's just savage, you know. I say this on Mock Talk before. It's okay for Square. It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. MMORPG always difficult, especially Square Enix don't allow players to test, say, the raid tier and tuning. They don't have a PTR. What they release is what we're gonna deal with, right? They got 19 jobs. Very, very soon, I assume based on their practice, maybe in 7.0 we might get 21. It is not easy to balance so many jobs, especially with so many roles. And then the party composition is based on these roles, right? It's not like free. It's not like Final Fantasy 11 freedom. You want to do what you do. What. Just make sure you have enough healing, blah, blah. But otherwise, Final Fantasy 14 is very restricted in a way. And then you got so many jobs that can only fit into 1 or 2 spots in the group. So balance is very important, and they don't have the time for that. Even if they do the normal mode and Savage within 1 week, I don't think that is enough time to immediately address a problem. Oh shit, machine is really far behind. What can we do that we don't create too big of a ripple effect? And then also unbalanced, right? They can only do a little bit. And they cannot do like, okay, guys, this 1 hour, we're going to give you 10 potency, but let us know. But when you get to turn 4, on the 6th hour, we will monitor. Oh shit, it's still not enough. Ninja Fix, we give machine. This is not Blizzard. This is not World of Warcraft Mythic Rain. You know what I mean? So for Final Fantasy 14, they do it this way. It's kind of like, sadly, it is this way. But I say this in Mock Talk, if you cannot balance your job, which is totally understandable, make sure you don't overtune the boss so that your underbalanced job cannot do it. And that's the problem with the door boss. I think if going to the next Savage, I don't expect a lot of jobs to get a lot of rework. Now we can add Paladin to that pile of reworking list. Summoner just had a rework, and Summoner is already on the list again that they need something more. Not like a rework, but like, additional buttons really. and then you got your Machinist, you got your Astrologian that they haven't. Astrologian has been in the pile since 3.0. Astrologian is always back in. Okay, dude, Astrologian is like a piece of steak that you cook to your customer, and your customer return it for 5 years, and you still don't know what the hell to do with that steak. The steak is already well done by now already. We need a new steak. You know, like moving forward, Astrologian need a full rework. Oh, yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's already on the stack already. Dragoon is on it already. Now Dragoon is there for a different, obviously a different situation. Dragoon reached its limit already. They cannot add in one more positional. They cannot add in one more off GCD. They cannot add in one more jump. They cannot add in one more rate buff. So Dragoon reached the limit already. So in a way, the rework has to come at some point, right? Otherwise, how do Dragoon move forward?
I mean, you know what they're going to do to Dragoon, right? They're going to make the jumps GCDs.
Oh, yeah.
They're 100% going to make jumps global cooldowns. I have no doubt in my mind. They already said it's going to be like Ninja, and that's what they did with Mudras, so...
It's a fresh start, right? Because look, Ninja. I am lucky that I play Ninja since 2.4 until now. Ninja is okay, except 5.0. But otherwise, Ninja throughout this whole thing, right? Ninja has been the one that still feels fun to play, still feels okay. But Astrologian is on a completely different, on the other end of the spectrum, right?
I fucking love it.
But I'm telling you, man, Happy, you go and if
you're on drugs.
You go and interview 100 Astro mains.
Oh, yeah, they
all 100 Astro mains will tell you a different version of Astrologian they like.
It's only going to be about the cards, though. They're going to be like, I love Star, I love Macrocosmos, I love Light Speed, fuck Sinistry, redo the cards. We'll talk then, all right?
Yeah.
That's 100 interviews right there. Guarantee it. Sly, that's where you and I get to disagree. He wants old cards back. I want them to just figure something else out. Oh man, what a fucking expansion.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah, and then we didn't even get to talk about... I mean, we kind of jumped into Phase 2 first, practically, so we didn't even... Like, that was the first topic that we touched upon was Phase 2. So I think we beat that into submission. The only major discussion point there was easy once you figure out the puzzle, and...
Actually...
Oh, yeah?
There was one thing.
What? What's the thing?
What's up?
The Phoenix buff.
That's where I was about to get.
Okay.
Well, you already said it, so let's go.
Oh, yeah. That is a horrible design through and through.
Yeah.
I don't care if it makes the fight future proof. The fact that 40% of your damage relies in the last minute and 40 seconds of the fight is absolutely atrocious. Awful design.
Yep. I'd rather you get him to zero or he goes back to full. Yeah. If you went back, if like you had to get him below a certain point and then it was like 3 minutes of Phoenix, like, you know, golden.
Yeah, if it was a 10-minute fight, it would actually be pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it would be like 3 minutes of uptime with the Phoenix buff. That gives you 2 burst windows. I think the issue is that you only get 1 burst window, and you know, if you don't do good damage, I mean, technically you're at a disadvantage already. So it's like, okay, well, nothing popped off in our opener. I guess we're technically fighting an uphill battle at this point. And it also kind of caters to jobs who are, I guess, more bursty as well.
Resource holders are really good at that last one. Anyone with an auto crit's way more valuable in that phase because there's way less variance. So like Samurai, for example, fantastic. And Samurai, by the way, got to compliment a job with no utility, not in any way being part of our balanced discussion. Because proof they can do it at the very least.
Yeah.
Just give everything auto crits. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Please stop doing it. Just don't do it anymore. I'm so done with auto crits. Please stop doing it.
Take away direct hit, man. Take away direct hit. Direct hit has been a great change since accuracy, but direct hit has overstayed its shit. What is the English word?
What do you want? What do you want? Mastery?
It should be already.
Is that what you want? You want mastery instead?
I don't know, man. I just feel you
want something else. I assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't have 2 damage. You can't have 2 critical RNG variants.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why most jobs are getting auto crits now, right? That's why, right? They find it, like, for example, things like Communio, things like Double Down. What is gonna happen? Are they gonna go auto crit at some point? Because Hoshio, are they gonna go auto crit at some point? Like, either you stop making big hits, Either you stop making big hits or you need to start making the variants not these crazy anymore. But at the same time, I agree. Don't make it auto.
Bro, my
Right, like-
Phantom Rush does like 30,000 if nothing. It does like 80,000 with everything. I've seen Hyoshos do like 120,000 or like 40,000. It's like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be auto crit direct hit, or yeah, it doesn't need to be auto crit direct hit. Just auto crit would be nice because that just means you still have the RNG aspect, but at least it's not as prevalent, right? Because I mean, if you go back to Heavensward, and I always like bringing this up, if you did play it in Heavensward, you did the exact same rotation, you are always be within like a very similar range of damage, like DPS wise.
Yeah.
You would always be, there was very little variance as long as you played the exact same. And I mean, there was still variance, but again, it was much smaller, right? Maybe a couple percent. Now, I mean, you could be upwards of probably like 10%, maybe a little bit more than that, right? Just because you didn't you didn't direct crit your big moves. And it's also a problem of toolkits being like oversaturated. So you have like jobs like what's a good job for an example? I guess Ninja actually is a good example where you have tons of high potency moves like Raiton, especially TCJ Raiton and Hyosho, right? Pretty hard hitting moves, and then outside of your that burst, you have very little going on as well, right? Your GCDs hit for like a fucking wet noodle. You don't really have much going on for you. So like your DPS as Ninja is heavily reliant on you hitting those or critting those big moves, and if you don't, then I mean, you're not going anywhere.
There's a lot of reasons why people didn't like Dancer and Shadowbringers for prog, because if your tech step, you getting that 0.1% wipe, you could look literally at a tech step and be like, there you go. Like there's several percent difference just looking at a tech step or two. And it was awful. So,
and I mean, back in Heavensward too, I mean, a big thing too is that your highest hitting ability was like 500 potency on some jobs, right?
Not
So, like,
1,200.
yeah, I mean, it's big,
Fuck.
right? So like, I mean, you have potency gaps where like, I mean, like as a ninja, right? You had like 100, like a 200 and a 300, right? Your ALM was like 300 something.
Yeah, Trick Attack was 400, and then I don't think
Yeah.
you had anything high. I think Trick was the
No,
highest.
it was it was. Well, Sneak Attack was technically, but
Yeah, but that's the one.
nobody used that, right? Like, yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, it's like you have such small variance in potencies, right? Whereas now, your GCs as Ninja are the same still, but now you also have Hyosho to worry about. You have much bigger gaps and a higher discrepancy between your potencies and your toolkit. And jobs that are like that are going to suffer more, which is why Samurai's pretty nice. Like Samurai right now, I mean, its toolkit's pretty evenly spread. I mean, it has some high potency moves, but they're all auto crit right now.
And Reaper has a
Even,
different
I guess,
problem
Black Mage
where
too.
they really only have, I guess, Communio is like the big one that they have to think about, because like their base 1, 2, 3 and their special attacks that they have during the whatever the fuck, I haven't played it at all since launch.
Giba and Gallows, yeah.
Yeah, they're faster, but they're not that much higher potency. So their damage. So Reaper, you might look at as almost like kind of the most Heavensward-ish damage range, I suppose, compared to the rest of the melee. Which I guess, despite it being the weakest, also makes it the healthiest in some regard. But that's not really how it works out in the end. But then they also just don't perform as well because they don't have as many of those skills, even though they are arguably tighter balanced for it. So,
Nope.
it's a hell of an expansion.
Jugi's pretty nice too.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty evenly distributed.
I still don't know why
potency.
Dragonfire Dive is only like 300 potency on 2 minutes or whatever the fuck it is. Dragonfire Dive doesn't make any
That's what they're
fucking
gonna do.
sense. That's one.
Too much jumps already.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well,
Don't need any more.
we're getting them, Sly. Sly, don't worry. They're just going to give you a Wyvern.
You're getting them on CD.
It's okay.
You're not getting any
They're
more.
going to
You're
get you a
getting them on
Wyvern in
CD. That's it.
7.0, Sly. It's okay. So now you can go get the Wyvern in Final Fantasy 11 since you're playing that, and then you can get it in 14. They'll do it. It's fine.
It's a matter of time, right? It's a matter of time, right?
I actually think I don't think it's going to be a pet, but I think they're going to have a Wyvern. I feel like it's going to fucking happen at this point. It's just going to be like, it's going to accompany that. It's going to be like Carbuncle. It's going to sit there until you make it do something, you know? It's going to, Carbuncle's like,
Carbuncle don't even do anything.
just
now
fucking looks at
except
you.
The shield. Yeah, except the radiant shield, right?
it's like, are you Tataru's Carbuncle? The fuck are you doing? Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not going to feed you. It's all right, Sly. Your future's looking bright. Okay. I think we've covered the raid tier adequately in the last 2 hours and some odd minutes. So I think we can go ahead and start to wrap up the show at the very least. What order should I do this? Should I let you guys outro? I think we do the giveaways first and then you guys outro. All right?
Okay.
Because we can still shoot the shit while we're doing the giveaway. So, as a reminder, for any of you who may have entered before, we are giving away a few of these globes to those of you in the chat. Here we go. Just cover up everything because we're so professional. There you go. These are courtesy of the Final Fantasy XIV community team from Duty Commenced. We did a collaboration with them about a month ago, and we haven't really had a show since to give these away. So we're giving away 5 of these to North American residents, and we already had some people enter earlier. If you're from North America and you're a follower, type globe to enter the giveaway. I'll give you guys another minute or so. And then I'm going to rapid pull 5 winners. I am going to need confirmation from each of those 5 winners that they're in the chat. But after that, we should be good to go. And if you're looking for, if you miss any of these giveaways, Sly's going to have 5 for himself as well. I am going to need to make sure, remember, it's an NA residence, not NA server, but I will also need your character names and server names as well to provide to the community team. So while you guys are entering for that, I think we can start doing the outros while they're getting their last minute entries in. So thank you both of you for waking up and being here, because I know it's probably a weird time of day for Arthars to be here, I'd assume. Yeah. And Momo woke up 5 minutes before call time. So thank you. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. So Arthars, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you at and what you have going on?
I stream Final Fantasy XIV, obviously, mainly a Final Fantasy XIV streamer. But I plays a lot of other games if I, want to. But otherwise, right now, mainly just focus on MMORPG and Final Fantasy XIV. So you can catch me over here. Wait, correct?
I think
Wear Happy Hair.
Yeah, that's right.
That's where you can catch me. Yeah, but otherwise, thank you so much for having me on the show, man. Always a pleasure to be in podcasts. Really fun. Talk about stuff that more like you guys keep me in check. You guys give me like a list, like a proper way to stick on topic. Because when I'm on stream, I'm just all over the place. So like here, I can also get to listen to people with great insight. So yeah, thanks for having me. Always nice to be on podcast. Thank you so much.
And thank you for coming on. And Momo, what do you got going on, Mr. Breedable?
I got a good pun, by the way, at the end of the show. Okay. For Sly.
Okay.
You can follow me on Twitter at FFXBMemo. I also stream on Twitch. I play a game called Final Fantasy XIV. May have heard of it. I'm not sure. It's pretty new still, so up and coming. But yeah, thanks for having me on the show. It was fun.
Good outro. Solid.
Well-known indie title.
All right, is that better?
Yeah, there you go.
Spice to it.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
But my brain's been tainted. I've been exposed to the, I guess, sexual innuendo meme, where it's like you take someone's sentence out of context, you cut them off when it sounds like they're saying something inappropriate, and then you blast like loud music. And so every time I hear I heard Up and Coming, and I just started laughing. I was like, God damn it. I saw the Keanu Reeves one the other day, and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm ruined. I'm fucking ruined now. Getting cocked.
Yeah.
So and Sly will do our outros after I start pulling these giveaway winners. I'm literally going to press the button 5 times, and if all 5 people reply, they'll be the winners. And if not, then I'll pull other people. All right. I'm going to pull all 5 winners first, and then I'm going to announce who they are in the chat. I know one of them is here because I recognize that name. I recognize some of these names. So we have Haku Otsutsuki, Parzival Stark, Nutsack Narwhal. Great name. Cinnamon Bun and Alice Kagarazaka. So just type anything in the chat if you're here for that, and I'll mark down. I'll copy paste the name Alice. I mean, I already know yours is here. So there you go. Yeah, just there's Pars. Yeah, Pars. Look at that.
Great.
Just try to at me here, so I can make sure. Yeah, there's Pars. All right, Pars is here. He gets it. Alice is here. Yeah, just at me so I can see, because other people are yelling rigged, so I'm trying to keep up with the chat here. I definitely see at least 2 or 3 that have. No, it's not rigged! Alice, I knew you were here anyway, so that was fine. You good. And I see Pars is here, so Pars is good. But what about... There's Nutsack Narwhal. Okay, there's Narwhal. Got it. So still have Haku Otsutsuki and Cinnamon Bun.
And Cinnamon Bun.
If you could at me. If not, I will pull 2 more names, but I'll give you guys a minute or 2 to do that.
Come on, you can do it.
Rigged but grats.
You can do it.
There you go. Rigged but grats. There you go. And I will be DMing you guys on Twitch for your character names and server names as well, just to provide to the Duty Commeds team.
Last call for Haku and Cinnamon Bun.
Haku Otsutsuki and Cinnamon Bun. Yeah, Cinnamon Bun's a regular, but might not still be here, given that we've had the entries open for quite some time. It's dangerous. You enter a giveaway, you step away. It's dangerous. That's why we do it for you gotta watch the whole show, because otherwise you're just here for the giveaway and then you leave. That's it. All right, I give them like 20 more seconds. Arthars and Momo just want to leave, so come on.
You can send it to my PO box. It's fine.
I didn't say you were. I said you wanted to leave, not you wanted the prize. But yeah, okay. So I said he wants to leave, and you're like,
No, you can give it to me.
he's like, no, I'll only leave if you send me the loot. All right, I'm gonna pull 2 more names. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pull 2 more. I'm gonna pull these ones one at a time. Shrouded one. If you're here, real quick, just at me, at Mr. Happy. Just be like, I'm alive. I'm not gonna give you too much time. And actually, here, I'll do the other one too. Blue Zift. There you go. Listen, everyone's waiting. Everyone's like, I don't know. They might not be here. Y'all keep getting chances. This is what I mean. Yep, there you go. Shrouded one's here. Got it. The only person.
Come on, Blue.
Yeah, now.
I know you're here.
Do you know?
I know you're here, Blue.
You know Blue?
I know Blue.
Is he your boy, Blue?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. They're here. All right. Okay, I've got the 5 winners, so it's just not Cinnamon Bun and just not Haku Otsutsuki. Okay, got it. We got all 5 of our winners. Thank you again, Duty Commence. And sorry that it took so fucking long for me to get to these giveaways. It's been a stressful last several weeks for me, and I haven't wanted to do the show. So glad to have this, but we got shows planned for the next month or so. So I will be DMing all of you after the show to get the pertinent information. Then I'll pass that along, and Square Enix will take care of your prizes for you. Finally, we can do our last 2 outros then. Sly, what are you working on? What do you got going on?
Well, again, thank you, Momo. Thank you, Arthur, so much for coming on. You can find me at twitch.tv/Sly, aka Gray Fox. You can find me on Twitter at Sly the Fox. Yeah, recently I started playing 11.
I don't understand how you wanted to play it. You wanted to.
I was curious. I've
been telling you for years, and you always turn me down. I see how it is.
I was curious. And then I started playing, and it's okay. It's an experience, but it's okay. But fuck bees. That's all I'm saying.
He spent a lot of time trying to get that honey.
No, it was pollen.
Oh, pollen, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Honey dropped like several times, but pollen, Jesus Christ. Other than that, some good ass Gundam. New content for SD Gundam Battle Alliance Evolution. If it'll let me play. That's another story. Just lots of content. End of September, we're gonna have a community Jackbox community night on Sunday night. So content. Yeah. And Happy, what are you doing? What are you up to?
Square Enix busy season has started, is what I'm up to. So obviously still have clears, re-clears. Got to do an Opti night, I think, tonight as well, because we're still doing week 1 stuff because we haven't had any time. So got to adjust to all the good shit. But Dealfield Chronicle, I've been playing since the 20th.
Yeah.
That's been pretty good. Too easy of a game, far too easy. But other than that, it's been fun. Valkyrie Elysium will be in early access on the 26th. Officially releases the 29th. And then next month, there's a Star Ocean demo I haven't played. Triangle Strategy hits PC next month. Stranger of Paradise has its second DLC next month. Star Ocean 6 launches next month. We'll probably have Criterion, I'm guessing October 18th. That's my prediction date for Criterion, Relic, all that. And I'm sure there's something else that I'm forgetting. And October or whatever. That's got to be on my mind. But yeah, and then the November I don't even want to talk about fucking November. It's like Harvestella, God of War, Sonic, Pokemon.
Dude, there's a lot of games coming out.
Yeah, and I'm skipping things
this month.
like Bayonetta 3 because it's on the Switch. I don't want to fucking play Bayo 3 on the Switch. It's only going to be on the Switch. It's never going to be on anything else because fuck me, right? But that's got to toss that. Anyway, yeah, that's what I got going on. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, you know the drill. With that, one final thank you to our sponsors. Patreon, thank you for supporting. Every Plate, again, if you're interested, $149 a meal. NA people only. I made a cooking stream on Wednesday if you want to go watch that. And that was a lot of fun. We've been doing those a bit more frequently. And of course, SteelSeries, who I'll be DMing a giveaway winner because we had a giveaway end like 2 weeks ago. I never pulled it. When is Momo's baby? That is not for me to say. Okay. That's fine.
Wait, my pun. Hey, Sly. What do you call P7S? A turn tree.
Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah. Mhm.
So that's it for Stay of the Realm, everyone. Thank you guys so much for coming out. We'd like to thank our guests, Momo and Arthur, so much for everything except that awful pun. But thank you for coming on. We really appreciate having you. And we hope you would return one day to talk about more Raid and not more puns.
Yeah, sure, man. Thanks so much, man. Thanks for having us.
I went to the outro screen like a minute ago. I mean, they heard the whole thing, but I ended.